Hola, muy buenas tardes. Un breve recordatorio es del Centro de Bienvenida. Ofrecemos interpretación simultánea en este evento y en cualquier evento del distrito. This is just a brief announcement from the Welcome Center. We offer simultaneous interpretation at any event around the district. Come and say hello. The Welcome Center is located by Lafayette Elementary. Thank you.
Okay. I want to go there. All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I would entertain a movement to approve the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve tonight's agenda as is.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any comments? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then let's move on to staff student recognition. I'll turn that over to Bruce.
Thank you so much. In an effort to recognize students and staff who achieve excellence in school activities and academic programs, tonight we have the opportunity to acknowledge the South Albany High School volleyball team, and Principal Chad Angel will be sharing the details of their amazing accomplishments.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. The support from the community and what this team's accomplished has been pretty amazing. I don't know that in a 2-year run there has been a team that's accomplished quite what they have. 52-1 over the last 2 years. I've won 132 sets and lost only 8 back-to-back state champions. So I like to introduce them and have them come on up. League champions as well as state champions. Freshman Shaylee Strome.
Yeah, power clap.
A sophomore Brooklyn Dodge. Sophomore Claire Henkel. Sophomore Addie Minnick. Junior Peyton Hamilton. Junior Alicia Martindale. Junior Audrey Webb. Junior Angela Varelis. And seniors, Brooklyn Freitas, Rylan Minnick, Daly Cordell, Maddie Angel, Taylor Donaldson, and coaches Kayla Werman, Kelly Angel, Beth Henkel, Amber Weddle, and Claire Angel. So once again, back-to-back league champions and state champions. We also had some individual awards with this as well. The league player of the year and state player of the year, Audrey Webb. First team all-tournament, Audrey Webb. Second team all-tournament, Maddie Angel. Second team all-tournament, Taylor Donaldson. And first team all-state, Audrey Webb, Taylor Donaldson, and Maddie Angel. Thank you very much.
No, ladies. You gotta turn around and get a handshake and a picture with the school board and some certificates.
Oh, that'll be Well, I'm going to be taller than us, it looks like.
They will be, especially me.
You guys want to be seen. You're kind of tall, so.
Picture when they do. Chad, take a picture with them. Yeah, you should. Where are the coaches? You gotta get the coaches up here. Yeah, I think they're hiding.
I think Brad needs to be in the picture. Okay, scrunch up. Someone's gonna get down on his leg. Scrunch up. Turn sideways and scrunch in. There you go. Oh, I was ready. Yay!
Amazing, very impressive. Next up is, go ahead, another one.
No, go ahead.
West Albany, looks like soccer, volleyball, water polo.
Thank you. In an effort to recognize students and staff who achieve excellence in school activities and academic programs, tonight we have the opportunity to acknowledge the West Albany High School's volleyball and water polo teams and an outstanding boys soccer player. Principal Rich Engel will be sharing the details of their incredible accomplishments.
Thank you so much for having us all here to recognize the amazing accomplishments of these student athletes. And I want to really emphasize student. Every one of these kids have really stood out as students in the building. And then obviously their efforts on the court and on the field and in the pool. So I'd like to invite the volleyball team to come up and stand up here, please, with head coach Megan Wallace. The Mid-Willamette Valley for about the last 12 or 13 years has been a hotbed of volleyball at the 5A level. There have been multiple state champions, obviously, with South Albany over the last two. West Albany has been fortunate to win 3 in that time. Crescent Valley and Corvallis have also been in that. And so this year exemplified that at the state tournament. 4 out of the 8 teams came out of the Mid-Willamette Conference. And this group of outstanding young ladies came away with the 6th place trophy. So congratulations, ladies.
Pictures?
Right?
It's a couple of curves for you. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Next up, I'd like to welcome our members of the boys water polo team to please come forward. Our boys water polo team, many of the members are also on the swim team, along with their coach, Bailey Dickerson, and so they couldn't be here tonight. And so we have these 4 fine young men here to represent the team. They have, again, like the volleyball teams, they've experienced great success over the years. This year, they were able to come away with a 4th place trophy at the 5A level, so congratulations, guys.
Getting your steps.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll take you out.
Yeah, exactly.
You step back like one giant step back, whenever ready. Awesome, thank you.
Why don't you just stay there? He's got one more.
Yeah, we just have one more.
One more. And finally, to recognize the co-player of the year for boys soccer in the Mid-Willamette Conference. This young man is a very good student, obviously, and in addition to being the co-player of the year, he also was an amazing kicker on our football team and is an outstanding basketball player as well. Along with his coach, Kevin Brannigan, please welcome Jonah Lassell. Thank you so much.
All right, love seeing our kids doing amazing things. Good job, and good job, coaches. Okay, next up is board business. So we're going to talk about the budget committee application process. And so what we're looking for is to approve the application that was in your packet and name a couple of people to be on. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Miss the audience. I know you were all feeling like rock stars up
We
there.
were. It was so great. It's like,
I could be less nervous, not less eyeballs.
They had to hurry home to get their homework done. Sure now. I don't know about anybody else, but I do.
We're all buyers.
Go out and get a better parking spot now.
To the front.
Okay, so what we're doing is, we're looking at approving the budget committee application and then naming 2 board members for, to be sort of the pre-review. Probably if you remember, we talked about having 2 of us kind of go through and make recommendations, so that we, just seems easier to do it that way. So we kind of talked about that last month and everybody seemed on board with that. So now it's kind of a time to talk about any changes, any questions about the application, if there's any thoughts. We're going to replace, do we figure out if we have to replace Brent? We do not. So we only have to replace 2 people. Okay. So we're looking to replace 2, including 1 from the committee. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, go ahead.
Kelly.
Meeting with the deck tomorrow, and we'll finalize the 2 folks who want to apply, and then we can look at that process. with you.
Excellent. Perfect. I love it. Okay. Is there any discussion, any thoughts? If not, if we can just move to approve the application.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the budget committee application as presented.
All right, do we have a second?
I second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, now we need 2 people to review the applications. And I would say, anybody interested in volunteering, and I want to say I'm not really interested in doing it, so anybody else that would love to do it?
I am willing,
Okay.
but not in love. I mean, I don't need more to do, but I'm happy to step up and do it. So whoever else wants to, join with me.
I can do it too.
Want to do it? Okay, does that work for everybody? Okay, then we would want a motion to approve Brad and Chris to be the Budget Committee Application Review Subcommittee.
I will move to appoint Brad and Chris as the 2 board member representatives to preview applications and bring them to the board.
All right, do we have a second for that?
I will second that.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, nice and easy. I like it. Okay, on to the next thing. Listening format, session format discussion. So we talked about having our listening session moved to January, and we're going to make it a targeted or a focused discussion regarding the presentation that we're going to get tonight on the school district budget. And then we talked a little bit about last time about how we want to continue to engage the community and find ways to do that, and how, on the one hand, the listening session does that in a really informal way where we can, you don't have to be pre-ready to go. You can take things as they come, think about them, give your, initial response in sort of a more casual way, but then that doesn't allow all the board members to hear all the feedback because only 2 of us are there. So what we were looking at as a solution to that, we would have the listening session format in January where we discuss the budget report tonight. And then in February, we would do a work session where we would have public comment or testimony where all 5 of us would be here in a work session. So it'd be a little more formal than a listening session, but less formal than our own normal public comment session, where people would basically sign up and we would try to the goal would be to keep it focused on that issue, right, on the presentation and the budget. So, and then in March, we would do a listening session based on the February, in whatever came out of the February meeting. So that's kind of, there's a lot of different things, and that's kind of what I kind of laid as a proposal. Seems like it hits everything we've been talking about wanting to do, keeps our listening session format, also gives us the community input with all 5 of us in a work session. Any thoughts on that? Any comments?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to approve the listening session and work session changes for January and February meeting
Okay.
as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Seems like a really good putting together of all the parts.
Good. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I do. I think it's going to really allow people to weigh in because I think there's going to be a lot of desire to weigh in based upon what I understand is coming. So this is going to give people a chance to ask questions and learn more about what's going on with the budget.
Okay. Good. Okay, well, in that case, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Excellent. Let's move on to F, District Leadership Team Reports. Mr. Gardner, you're up first.
There we go.
Uh-oh.
Let's go to the next slide. A few things that we'll share with you tonight. We know that, and we've discussed with you at several intervals, the changes in the accountability plan for schools and districts that the state is currently rolling out. We'll go through that. We have some updates from the Long Range Facility Advisory Committee, and I certainly would invite Stephanie and Sean to make some comments when we're done with that. But essentially, those are the things that happened at the last meeting. And then just a quick learning processes update as we move forward. Typically, I would provide you with an update on follow-up on public comment. We only had Clyde Rood from Lebanon here the last time, and so I think that election, I don't know how it's turned out, but that would be the follow-up when it eventually transpires. Okay. So we'll go to the next one. So if you guys take a look at the board, you'll see that this is an expanded metric for accountabilities for school districts. There will be 7 now for school districts to keep track of. Regular attendance for the whole school district. And I believe that has moved to K1. Oh, no, kindergarten, second grade attendance is the second. Third grade ELA, reading on the state test. 8th grade math proficiency has been added. And then the 3 that have been around, 9th grade on-track rate, 4-year grad rate, 5-year completer rate. And this adds in students who graduate with a GED. So this is an update. The update is in the green there. We are tasked with working on the metrics that the previous slide held. And now districts are going to need to choose one additional metric for us to work on. And so we're going to go through a process of working towards that within the district, and we'll come to you guys with a recommendation. I'll just read through them. Academic growth through the interim tests. We use iReady at this time in reading and math. That's one option. Multilingual proficiency, seal of biliteracy and multiliteracy. 5th grade science. We have none of the regular metrics incorporate science. Post-secondary readiness, which is a composite of our dual credit, AP, college-going classes. And finally, our CTE, our career and workforce readiness measurement. So some of the specifics aren't there yet, and these have been moved a little bit and changed through hearings. But as of December 3rd, those are the 5. And we have to pick one, right? And so just informally, we know of a couple districts here locally that are looking at CTE. But what we'll do is we'll test this and develop it from the inside. The idea, like, we can still work towards all of those outcomes, but there would be one that we would simply add to the state report card that we would be working on.
And we get to select which one, is that correct?
And the district will be working
district
towards it.
selects, okay.
Yeah, so it is district choice. So that's an update for you. I do think that there are some other considerations that we don't know yet. One of them is iReady. You guys see the results from iReady in math and reading. The state has created a system where districts must use an interim assessment like iReady. There are about 10 to 15 of those that are in use throughout the state. The state has said there can only be 4. So there are 4 of these commercially available assessments. We have not heard yet which of the 4 it will be. We do know that in a informal polling that iReady is the most used. So we are hopeful that that would be the case. This has been slowed down because the state is discovering that many of the people that use many of the various ones have long-term contracts. with those. And so they're having to work on how that transition can and will occur. So we're not sure yet. So they have not released the names of any of the 4 finalists at this point. And so that should come out, and we should be able to share that with you, the board meeting in January, hopefully, because they're on a timeline as well to get this done. So at the last long-range facility committee, we held it on December 2nd. We were down a few people. We've been very successful in having everybody come in and hold makeup meetings. And so those are really good. I enjoy them a lot because then you only have 3 or 4 people in the room and they can range a little more broadly on topics, and there's a lot more talk time. We started with the East Albany project presentation, which is a development that is currently, I'm not sure, I know that it was up for annexation into the city this month. I'm not sure that it has occurred yet. Flow Analytics then came to give us a presentation of their population forecast. And then Sage Architects also shared, among other things, a preliminary building student capacity, like how many kids can fit in each building. Conversely, out of all the kids that we can have in a building, how many do we have in that building right now? And of course, these two pieces of information, Flow Analytics and then that capacity, are going to fundamentally inform the work going forward. And then we did another exercise. We had groups of people work together on costing options for different things in the bond. What I can say is that was kind of a first time throwing spitballs. And so there were many ideas that came across in that have yet to be cost out. So when someone put up something and said, hey, we'd like to look at this, or we'd like to look at that, many of those the architects had not provided a cost on. And so it's iterative. Multiple times we're going to be working on this, and of course we'll be learning as we go. Go to the next slide. So this, So the slide is not completely shown on the screen for whatever reason, but you can get the gist of this if you look at the K5 and the 6-8 at the bottom. This is a population projection over the next 10 years, and you can see 2035, 36 is there at the top. You can look at the K5 number at the bottom, second row from the bottom, and you can see that we begin with 3,664 students, and over a 10-year period, we decline to 3,334. The middle school number begins at 2,003 and declines to 1,615. These are projections. I'm only saying this verbally. If anybody in the audience wants to see that more specifically, I believe that we are going to project all grades to decline from about 8,400 to approximately 7,150. So in 10 years, this projection shows us at about 7,150 students.
And do they talk about the reason for that? I know we keep talking about it, but is that, you got that, Sean?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So births overall, so they mentioned a couple different factors. One thing Flo mentioned that totally understand is births have gone down overall. We're having more people in the city, but less births of young kids to go into school. Also, so one thing that they mentioned is this year, from kids that were born in 2019, 2020, the retention rate of kids that are coming into gaps at kindergarten is only 67%. So they project it to go back up, but even with their projection of that going back up, there being less kids, there's smaller numbers of kids joining. However, when I pressed them about why their projection is, oh, we're going to get back up to the high 80s or whatever, they had no basis of that. They just said it's going to go back to normal.
So they're saying two things. One, there's less school-age kids in our school district boundary. And two, of the school-age kids that are here, less of them are going to attend our schools. It's both?
They project it to go back up higher,
Okay.
even not back to normal though. But they had no basis for that projection other than we think this is hopefully going to happen.
Okay.
So I do want to qualify it a couple of ways. Number one, so we listened to the East Side project, and we know that, so the number dropped last year. We dropped to about 360 kids last year to this year. So one of the great conversations in the meeting was, is that going to hold? And we would continue to see that number. We are 100 students down in our kindergarten class this year, but 360 meant that there was some loss across all grades. And the discussion and debate was whether that is in fact an anomaly. And Flo believes that it is a one-year anomaly that will steady somewhat. They also have not brought us yet a couple pieces of information, one of which is the development that is planned in Albany, in future years, and whether that would enhance the population or hold that somewhat steadier. And I think there's some assumption that in the numbers they gave, that is in fact the case. That and the kindergarten capture rate.
Okay, so the two data points, they think that they're guessing that the amount of kids that we have is not going to go up. That's going to continue to go down. But the amount of kids that we have that choose to attend our school, that will increase. So the percentage of kids attending will increase, but the total amount of kids is not going to increase.
So what I will do is I will send you guys
Okay.
the report as written so that you guys can take a look at those assumptions. But we do know that there is more information coming around development and what that means.
Do they compare us to the rest of the state? Like, I know the entire state's losing kids. Are we on the same line as the rest of everybody else, or?
I would have to look.
Okay.
He did mention that. We're comparable in terms of loss of kids, in terms of retention rate. He didn't have that information.
Okay.
But in terms of amount of kids, just flat number wise,
Okay.
we're
Percentage
comparable.
lost.
No, just percentage of kids being born.
Oh, okay.
The other thing, there is not, like, we're not going to probably see that there's a bunch of development planned that will increase the number substantially, because the district has been building houses the whole time.
Okay.
And so it would have to be an exorbitant rate to result in a huge number of kids. They'll also give us a number of how many children are generated by each single-bedroom apartment, two-bedroom apartment, and single-family home,
Okay.
right? So there's more to come, and I think that can help us to get a better handle on this. But in general, most districts in the state are declining enrollment. That's not a severe, like, Corvallis has had such a severe drop related to their whole, but it is a drop.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important because to know, because if we, I think it's to understand that if we go out and get 100% of our kids back, we're still not going to get back to 9,400 kids like we used to have.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and we understand that, and it's not just a matter of going out and getting kids back that are here, but that there aren't as many kids out there to get. So, okay. Thank you.
So building capacities then, and when we look at this chart, I'll point out functional capacity of a building and how many kids it could take overall are different when they look at a building and look at the capacity overall. It would be a very crowded building with not many special classrooms to get to that number. And so we'll focus on the functional capacity, which gives room for special classrooms, those kind of things. We are currently vetting some of the numbers in some of the buildings. Timber Ridge, 4.5, there was a discrepancy in this table. So we'll have to take that with a grain of salt, but they should be updating that. Middle school capacities are large, and we're also checking on the high school capacities. So, and again, there'll be, Flo will also be coming up with long-term population estimates by school. So this is the elementary, and if you take a look, you can see the actual enrollment is on the left. Maximum capacity, then functional capacity. So Central has a functional capacity of 178 students. They have 111 students in it. So capacity versus actual, 62% used. And once again, we've lost the bottom line, but I think that the elementary capacity was actually 70% used, which is Given the fact that we've had 2 or 3 fairly small cohorts of incoming kindergartners, thought that might be a little bit lower, but 70%. And it underscores, I think, we have 14 elementaries. The average size of our schools is not particularly large. Only Meadow Ridge, 483 on this chart, is really sizable. Oak Grove would be the second at 367. So if you wanted to look at it in terms of the kids that aren't here, it is the equivalent of an Oak Grove, approximately, that did not come back this year, across all 12 grades, 13 grades. Let's go to the next. I think these are bigger, and we got the bottom line in. So these are the middle schools, and we're vetting these. Calapooya Middle School is shown to have a functional capacity of 1,035 kids. We're looking at it, Chris.
I taught there when it was 900.
Okay.
It wasn't
Bob
pleasant.
Stolick remembers a number like that.
Yeah, teachers on carts, it was crazy.
And so there's a couple things there. For a long time, there were 3 middle schools and not 4. Before Timber Ridge was built, the middle schools in this district were very, very large. And so, but we're vetting that just to double check that. But we're hearing historically that big numbers did occur at our middle schools.
900.
So. And then our high schools, we're checking these again. And you can see that usage. So the middle schools have more, quote, room than both of the other levels, which are about 70%. But we're going to look at West Albany High School. But again, historically, even though the 2,068 is the number, Mr. Stolick told me that before this district built 2 high schools, that it was like 1,850. Right, so.
Yeah, I want you to go to West Albany during the day and tell me how you see 800 more kids.
Well, I can do the same thing with Calapooya.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's crazy.
Right?
There's no way.
So, anyway, I think, again, it's just another piece of information, and like what is realistic and doable is different. Yeah.
The school's being completely differently used now. I remember
Yeah.
special ed had 1 room, 1.
Yeah.
And so.
Everywhere else.
So everything was, there just was less of everything.
That's right. And so we're gonna work with Sage and just try to figure out what is doable. The only thing is, when you combine this with the previous population forecast, what we have now may be a higher number than we will see at any point in the next 10 years, right? So capacity may not be our issue in that respect.
There was also one thing a parent pointed out during the meeting after they were going through this thing, that she was surprised that there were such large capacities, even if some of the numbers were off by a little bit, because she said over the last year she's been hearing nothing but the schools are packed, there's no room for anything, and there's nothing. So seeing the actual numbers, and even if there is a little bit of error somewhere here and there, it was still much more capacity than she expected to see, she mentioned.
Let's go to the next slide. So we'll move off of that. We do have a month off on the long-range committee. We will meet again in early February, and there's lots of work to be done there. We are going to be looking at staff and student ratios in schools. For example, how many staff total do we have versus the number of kids there? And we can also work off of that for a fiscal analysis. How much are we spending on staff in a school compared to the number of students that are there, right, and what those costs are. And we'll probably do that. We've discussed how we would do that, but in general, what we're looking for is just a an average cost of staff times the number of staff. And the reason we do that is we do have some schools that tend to have more experienced staff, and because our salary schedule is basically you start at about 50% of what you end at as a salary. If you have a large number of people that are senior, it skews the cost of a school. And so what we're trying to do is just get the average cost of staff and look at that on a cost basis. But we recognize that there are some places where people go and stay, and there are other people where people look to transfer at some point. And so we're just looking to make sure that that is presented evenly, and we'll get to that here in the next month or 2.
It's true to say also, I think, maybe important to point out that we're looking at a physical capacity, but that's not implying that classrooms you know, you're not walking into classrooms that are only 58% of capacity, right? I mean,
No.
Our class sizes are not. That does
Yeah.
not, that just reflects physical buildings for, that
That's
you can
right.
have classes.
There was one instance at West Albany where some of the rooms are old and are just too small to handle a given classroom capacity. So they did take it on a square footage and reduce that number as they counted towards the total capacity.
Okay.
Just learning update, we're right in the middle of this, and this is a pretty important shift that we're making. We're having a lot of discussion with both the collaborative steering committee as well as the administrators on how we will score this year on our end-of-year evaluations. And it's important that we have that clarified because that will influence every conversation we're having with staff all the way through the year, right? So if a teacher is scoring at a 2 out of 4 or something like that, one of the things the collaborative committee the other night said is, okay, we agree that it should be honestly scored, but there should not be anybody who is surprised, right? So all this really does is it drives us to be in classrooms and give honest feedback. And of course, I think another great one was, what are the things that I can do to become a 3, right? So we have to have suggestions and score that honestly. I was really impressed with the collaborative committee. I was also really impressed with our administrators in their discussion around this process. And so that we'll update more as we really flesh that out here over the next couple of months. And I think I rest.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions for Superintendent Garland before?
Yeah, in the packet, Andy, there's this long assessment with the schools in there.
Yeah.
And one of, like on Central Elementary on the top page, it says on the right-hand side, FCI. Do you know what that stands for? Because it gives a percentage and then a rating.
So I think that's the General Facility Condition Index, which is the overall cost to repair the school versus a replacement cost.
Okay.
And so what that does is it just gives us a barometer that we would look at a building to determine, you know, how do we continue to repair that and keep it in use? And I think the one building that showed that it was fairly questionable was North Albany Elementary.
Right. And you get down to the T's, for some reason, both of the T schools, it does not.
The T schools.
The T, yeah, Timber Ridge, if you go down, because they're all in alphabetical order.
Okay.
They do not have the poor, the fair, the whatever on there. They just have the percentages. And nowhere did I see where there was a chart where at this percentage to this percentage, it would be considered fair, or this would be, you know, adequate, or some sort of a range where that percentage was looked at.
Oh, like a scoring guide or a
scoring
key to
guide,
the
yeah,
map.
there was no
Yeah.
key. It was just seemed to be somewhat arbitrary. And so I looked, I actually read them all. And there was just some places in there that weren't consistent throughout. And I can share that with you later, but it would just be nice to be able to get an understanding of how they, you know, if you get down.
How they arrived at that?
Yeah, I'll get down here real quick.
So there's some subjectivity to that. We have already, as the committee has expressed a concern about how Waverly was rated. I think the question was, how in the heck did that score so well, right? And so we've gone back and looked at that. I think there was a question as to which part of West Albany High School was scored because you could legitimately score the one half as excellent and the other half as a 1955 building, right? And so there was some cleanup of that as well. But we can make sure that we send out, if we did not give you the key charts of how they worked that through, we'll send those out to you as well.
Like, I'm just looking at tangent, it says FCI 22%, and then there's no fair or good
Okay.
or anything with it. And also, I think it was Timber Ridge was the same way, and I don't know why the T schools,
Waverly was the same.
was it? Yeah, so there were several on them that just, they weren't
Completely
formatted the
fleshed
same.
out. Okay, so we'll look at what you guys have, and if you guys just got the building assessments but not the key, we'll share that with you.
Okay, that'd be great.
What can be done with the buildings that are so different? I mean, West Albany is state-of-the-art and disastrous.
I think,
And to average, it makes no sense to me.
that's right. So I think we are going to end up looking at the old part of that as its own place. because we're looking at work forward, right, what we might do. And so I think we have to look at that. There probably isn't a whole lot that we might do with the other half, so making sure that we arrive at something that captures that, I think, will be important.
Okay. All right, on to the business report. Jane.
Good evening. Before I present to you the financial update, I have asked you tonight to approve purchasing of buses for our transportation department, so I just wanted to take you through that. A couple months ago, I brought to you the procedures because when we order buses, it takes a long time to get them. If you approve the purchase tonight, we would be receiving and paying for those buses in the 26-27 fiscal year. And Dave works with his team, and they have a long-range plan with all the buses listed, the ones that are just parts, the ones that the year that they will go out of service. And so from that, they determine the needs to purchase buses to maintain the fleet. And the first one is we're proposing 3 new activity vans. They are $109,000 each, and these are for our athletic teams. And when Andy first came, we had to hire another busing service because we did not have these, and we had a lot of coaches and parents transporting our students. So we're trying to get that fleet better.
What's the capacity of that? How many kids?
20.
Oh, that's why it's a type 20? Okay. Makes sense.
And then 1 new bus, and that's $128,000. And what I've asked you to approve is actually for $525,000, but the 3 quotes came in a little bit less. They came in at $456,000. And remember, buses are reimbursed 70% through the state school fund transportation grant. And so when we purchase the buses, then 70% of that helps the following year. And this year we have already paid for, Dave, what was it? 2 activity vans? Two sped buses, yes. And so we have that financially projected out to match the bus department's long-range plan. And so this is within both of those, the budget and the long-range plan for facilities.
And Jane, just to be clear, the activity vans would also be reimbursed at 70%?
Yes.
Okay, because you said buses. I want to make sure that that was indeed included in that same.
It is.
Okay.
And then I will go on to the financial. And I chose this picture because what I see the outlook as is cloudy, but with a path forward. And I thought this picture did a good job of what I think we're looking at. And when I talk about projection, I'm looking at 26, 27. And from North San Am, the motto was always doing what is best for students. I brought that with me. It guides my work. And also when I first came, Brad, you might remember, Andy had a goal to put into place fiscal systems. And I believe we've done that. And now the goal is to maintain those fiscal systems that will support the work Andy's doing, like CEL and our learning systems. And then lastly, I want us to be like squirrels and put away for the next year. So what's causing the change in our funding is change in enrollment. And when I talk about enrollment, it's different than what you saw for the long range. That is student counts as of October 1. It's always a couple hundred students higher. What I talk about is the average daily membership regular. So it's the cumulative of every student's attendance for the year. So 23-24 was 8,798. And remember, we're always paid the highest of the present year or the prior year. So for 24-25, we were paid at the 23-24 level. 24-25 cumulative ADMR was down 200 to 8598. So now for 25-26, we're being paid at the 8598, the 24-25 ADMR. However, the October 1st ADMR, the first quarter report to ODE, showed us down 200. So when I look at projections for 26-27, I need to subtract at least 198. And if I look at trends, the cumulative is always 100 to 75 less than that first period number. So the numbers I've given you are based on 198 students less for 26-27. Does that all make sense? Because that's kind of the basis for the cuts that we're looking at. And really that enrollment being prior year has smoothed it out for us. And let's look at 25-26. We budgeted the beginning fund balance at 13.7 million. And then by the time the year ended, we received our May adjustment. It was higher than I had anticipated. It was better. And it was the end of the biennium, so ODE takes their reserves and distributes them. And we also, the end of the biennium for grants, they had to be fully claimed. So I was able to move some FTE out of the general fund into the grants. And so I was able to increase the ending fund balance by $1 million, which was great because our budgeted basic school support has been adjusted. I told ODE I wanted to reduce this year's basic school support down to the 24-25 ADMR so that I would not have that as a May adjustment. And they do that. We've had 2 adjustments this year. And so that resulted in a negative 800,000. And then rough projection, the May adjustment based on all the pieces, last year's taxes, transportation, all the pieces, maybe a negative 500,000. That would result in a decrease to this year's basic school support of 1.3 million. Does that make sense? So this spreadsheet is a spreadsheet that I use when I want to talk with Andy about my projections. And the rows that I wanted to go over with you tonight, I've put in bold and put lines around them. So the first one is the beginning fund balance. I just wanted to show you how reducing that down has smoothed the cliff for us. So in 24-25, it was 16 million. This year it's 14.7. 26-27, I'm hoping we will end at 12.5. And if I had 27-28, it would be down to the 8%, which is almost 11 million. And go ahead.
Well, I'm just noticing that your slide's missing the critical line on the bottom as well.
Oh, no.
So we'll have to.
Shoot. Okay. I did print it.
Okay.
The next line is the state basic school support. And you can see in 24-25, it was 79 million. 25-26, 82. So it went up. And for 26-27, based on that reduced ADMR, based on the factors I know, I'm projecting that it's 80 million. So that's a reduction. And if you could see the bottom line, the change in funding, 24-25 went up in total resources from the prior year by 7 million. And that's normal if you look back. 25-26 went up like 2 million. 26-27 in this scenario goes down 3.4 million. So the projected resources for 26-27, we will have 3.4 million less. And if I look back historically at the cost of steps and COLAs, all of that, it's between 5 and 6 million. It depends how many staff we lay off, those variables. So a rough guess is our funding challenge is 8.4 million. So takeaways from that, the funding projections I've presented to you are based on what I know now. And it's early, things will change, the legislature's going to meet. ODE sometimes makes changes in the funding formula. The projected 26-27 resources, though, against the expenditures, we know will be a challenge. Enrollment trends could result in additional funding cuts. I don't know if that trend is going to continue. The governor's 2.5% to 5% potential reductions that she has talked about are not included in this. On the positive side, Andy had told me the legislature could dip into the reserve funds, that there's some talk about that. And preserving the ending fund balance for 25-26 this year will help us weather the storm. And we also need to remember classified bargaining is starting in January. So those are my takeaways from what I've showed you. And next steps, and Andy and I have talked about this, just to help us preserve that ending fund balance, we would like to implement a hiring freeze for positions where it makes sense. The teacher leaves, of course, you're going to replace that teacher. We will reduce travel, and overtime will be on an exception basis only. And staff food expenditures, we spend a lot of money on food, helps morale, that kind of thing. We want to watch that. And we will be working with our administrators to go over all of this. And I think that was what I had for you. I know it's not great news. I think when we started our budget planning for last year, we had a deficit of 8 million. There is a path forward. It will just be challenging.
Do you recall our total general fund, our total general fund budget, 133?
It's almost 200 million, right?
That's the
For the
total
whole
budget.
budget. Yeah, it's like 136.
136. And so 8 out of 136, you're looking at something like a 5.5% cut. Estimated?
And this hadn't taken into account like SIA, Measure 98, those that the state has also said they could cut.
They have already.
Yeah, but that's included in
Yeah.
25-26. We took care of that.
Which leads us to the necessity and I think the validity of a process where people can process this and come forward with questions and more information through the hearings that we're going to have. I think that'll be really important.
I want you to remember it's based on projections, right? And based on assumptions.
Sure.
What I do know.
First thing I want to thank you for all that work you've done. You continue to impress and bring us. Sometimes we don't like the numbers, but I believe you've got fairly accurate hold of what we're looking at. And looking forward, I don't know how this won't impact families in our district. I mean, you have been masterful, you and Susie both have been masterful at finding ways to not affect the GAPS families that rely on this income. And I hate to be the harbinger of gloom and doom, but it looks to me that being able to find more hidden corners to cut and to do and maintain all of our staff is not going to be possible, right? There's going to have to be some layoffs in the future.
But that is why we want to implement a hiring freeze that will help with that.
Oh, no, your plans are right on. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to contract where we can and preserve as much as we can, because our teachers and our staff are our talent, and we need them. However, we're limited by the amount of money we have available to us. And there's going to be some hard choices that no one's going to like, not even us. I mean, we none of us are looking forward to having to do what we're going to have to do, and make some serious looks at some serious cuts. So as we go forward, I'm just going to ask everyone to be patient. Please, weigh into the process, but understand that I don't see any way. And if you find magic, I'll be super ecstatic. But I just don't see any way going forward that we're going to be able to not affect families.
A quick question. So we see the number of students going down, projections, whatever they are. Is there a way to put a rough, is 10 students, how much in terms of budget decrease projection wise? So people can generally know what they see. 200 students decrease, that equals what, roughly?
So the numbers I gave you were ADMR, but ADMW, we receive $11,400.
Thank you.
Roughly
Yeah.
200,000 for 20 kids,
Okay.
roughly, weighted.
So 100,000, 10 kids.
And so just so I'm 100% clear, your projections are based strictly on enrollment and assuming it's status quo funding from the state.
That's correct.
So anything we see in the state that says we're cutting or we're adding, we do the math and add that to what you just said.
Yes.
Okay, and at this point also, it's largely off the table to have any cuts this year that we'd have to implement before June 30th, probably.
The governor, all the cuts that could happen from the short session through the the governor's recommendations would happen in the following year.
Okay.
Nothing is proposed for the middle of this year.
Good, okay.
Do we have any idea when they would make that decision?
The legislative session opens February 2nd and closes March 8th. We will have a revenue.
By spring break, we would probably
And
know.
we'll have a revenue forecast around the 1st of March that they'll probably hold off and they'll see before they take any action.
Okay, that's reasonable, okay.
Anything else you guys want to add?
I like the information going out, the discussions. This shouldn't be a surprise. If it's bad enough, if it's a nasty surprise too, that's worse. So it's keeping people informed is going to be really important.
Okay. And as a reminder, that this is the listening session in January, is to talk about, give feedback on this right here. So for people, just to make that really clear, and then we'll get a work session again in February to hear, this is what we want to hear from the community about. So mark this part on, if you're watching this on YouTube, write down the timestamp and go back and review it. Okay, anything else from you? Okay, next thing up is, it looks like, board reports. We'll do board member reports, and it's not prompted specifically, but the LFRAG people, if you want to have anything to add to what Andy said, what?
I think I kind of already added my portion earlier, but yeah, that was
That's
really
what you had to add?
Yeah, well, I had actually missed the meeting, but I had my follow-up with Andy and watched the video. And I think that, Andy really covered it all. I will say that watching the video, watching the activity portion of it, there's always a hands-on thing that we're doing. I think it's really important to be there when you're part of it. The hands-on thing, I think I would have got a lot more being there versus watching it.
Okay.
That's,
I would say for a board member report, there's a meeting on Wednesday OSBA is having. Hopefully you guys all got the email. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, but I hope some of us can, because there'll be some legislatures there.
I will be there.
You'll be there? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Good. I hope to make it, but I don't think I'll be able to.
I just want to give another shout out to our student athletes who came in to us tonight. It's always great to see them and what accomplishments they have done. They have done extremely well, and it's great to see them out there performing in sports and doing so well in school. So kudos to them.
All right. Anything else? Sean, Chris?
Oh, we had a nice meeting with the city council. It's nice to have communication established there.
Yeah, apparently you took a picture after I left, because I saw the picture and I'm not in it.
Well, you
But
were-
I was like,
But
I
we
was
had to
at-
wait till you left so
I
we
was
could
at
get
the
it, yeah.
meeting, what the heck, you didn't like
Well,
my
you
shirt?
jetted.
Left
but-
in about 10 seconds.
Chargers were playing, man, I had to get home and watch the game.
There was a reason.
And then won.
I'll check back with you guys going forward, but I think there had been a time when that happened annually. And so we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, some of that stuff was better than I expected. The pool discussion, I think, is a good one to continue to have. And I forgot about those field trips. I'm glad she brought that up. The
Those are
field trips
great
to the
field
Talking
trips.
Water and stuff, yeah. Good. Okay, moving on to student board reports. All right, well, Skylar, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I hope everyone's doing well, and I guess to get a break from the statistical doom and gloom, here's some great things happening within South Albany. So first of all, at the state level, South Albany Cheer, they got first place at the Warrior Rumble for the 5A traditional category in Lebanon. Then for athletics, the girls basketball team beat the 2025 state champs Crater High School 58-49, currently with 3 wins and no losses. Wrestling has a 10-way league meet on Wednesday at 1 p.m. at Lebanon. Tomorrow, swim is going against Crescent Valley at home. And the girls basketball team, they're going to the Capital City Classic in Salem. For the arts, choir and band had their winter concerts last week at the APAC. In the theater, the production of The Outsiders, which happened last month, it broke the box office record for non-musical production by over $4,000. That's pretty awesome. And so this weekend at 7 p.m., Thursday through Saturday, A Christmas Carol, the radio play, will be happening alongside with cookie decorating in the library. I'm definitely going there. I'll see you there.
When is that? Tuesday through Saturday?
Thursday through Saturday.
Cookies are available?
Cookies.
All right.
And a wreath auction too, I think. I'll check on that. For school events, Winter Formal, which happened last Saturday, went smoothly. Tree of Joy was a success in being able to support our feeder schools and its families within. The blood drive was another success. A lot of bloody bandages that day, but everything was fine. The staff were really nice. And as break is coming and the semester is ending soon, everyone is working hard to prepare for the end of it and into the second semester. And with that, I wish everyone a relaxing break and a happy holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Zion did share that she was unable to attend. She is in both band and choir, and West Albany High School has their big winter performance tonight.
Right. We are
So-
missing it.
Yeah.
Okay, bummer. All right, then let's move on to school reports. Bruce.
Fantastic. I would first like to welcome up Principal Chris Sullivan. He will be presenting all the fine things happening at Meadow Ridge Elementary School.
Yes, fine they are. Thank you.
It looks like he brought an entourage as well.
Oh, yes, a couple of teachers coming, it's very entertaining. So, all right, there we go. Oh, I don't have one picture on there that I put, but yes, I am Chris Sullivan, the principal of Meadow Ridge. We do some fantastic stuff over there. We are still working very hard in my second year to operate as a team. It's a big school, 500 little kids, 250 of them around 5 and 6. So it's a busy place. And we all got to work together as a team to make it happen around there. And what I have found in the short time that I've been there, we've gone from a staff that's been very siloed to a staff that's coming up with amazing and innovative ideas to support kids. I think we've gone from a place of what do you want me to do to us all working. I'm not the boss, the kids are what drive the work. And so the staff has grown a great deal, and I really enjoy the time there. That's just me dancing with a mullet on behind there. That's something Brooke Mendez, this is something she's come up with, where there's a dance party every day during recess. So if I'm ever bored, if I don't need some, or if I just need some cheer, I just go out there and dance with those kids. So there's a lot of dance, a lot of fun going on. I wish the other picture was on there. I don't know if you guys know Joe Lake, but he's our SLP, and he's part of playing music for kids upon arrival every day. So that's been something put together by Teresa Salyer, where the musicians on our staff are now playing kids into the school, and they gather on the stairs and listen. And again, these aren't things that are administratively driven. These are things that staff are coming to me with. And I love how much my door is opening with, I have an idea. It's been spectacular. Come on, big money, no whammies. Okay, there we go. Goal number 1, these are the same goals that we had last year, and we're just moving forward with them. So we have our next benchmark in January. I'm very excited to share the data of our growth. But the reason we're staying on track with this is that stretch growth, more than a year's growth, 67% of our kids made it last year. We make tremendous growth, and now looking at it, it's going to link to our goal number 3. The kids that are there, we're taking them really far. We have fantastic instruction happening in those classrooms. We just need more kids in the seats, and we'll see even better data. But 330 out of 494 kids met their stretch growth last year. Absolutely spectacular. I expect that we'll see even more this year. That is done through regular data collection. Kelly Longoria, who came here to watch, I credit her with that. She is keeping us on our 6-week cycles. We are keeping data at the forefront of making our decisions. That's what guides our small group instruction, our interventions. We are working on consistency across Tier 1. We have West Ed coming in. They are coming in to help us observe and give feedback, and they're noticing a lot of the same stuff that we're seeing just from one time. Amazing instruction. Where's the gap? Attendance ends up being that gap. Our 3rd graders who were performing pretty low, one of our more concerning groups, we've added in more support. We have Mrs. Shell coming in, working right alongside that 3rd grade group. We are running small groups all day long and making a ton of growth with those kids. Not just the kids that are struggling, but the kids that are above grade level. We want to take them even further. Goal number 2. 75% of students will achieve their individual iReady stretch growth goal in math. We made 55% of our students made their stretch growth goal last year. Another amazing feat. 271 of our 493 students met that stretch growth goal, meaning making more than a year's progress. Amazing work that has been done by our staff, being very focused on the data and just focused on kids. Data informed, always with kids at the forefront. Again, regular data collection and analysis. Thank you, Kelly Longoria. And teams having their common prep times to actually work and dive in. We have our 40-minute preps, and I've worked really hard on the front end to make sure that we have teams of 5, that they have that time together every single day. We've also pushed out SEAs to be in all of our small group and intervention times across math and literacy. And again, that increased Tier 1 math support in 3rd grade is making a huge difference. I'm very excited to see how big that difference is come this January. I feel a little step behind. I'd love to have the March slot again, where I'm talking about that data. So this is the platform right now. It comes down to attendance. A regular attender is someone a child who's here 90% or more. That means they can miss 16, 17 days and still be a regular attender. And so when I look at 71% of students being regular attenders last school year, that's just not good enough to make the growth and to do the right things for kids. I am very proud of the growth that has been made at the school. up from 54% to 61% to 71%. We are going in the right direction, but we are going to have to come up with some other strategies to get kids in the right place. What is really exciting is our blue zone over there where you can see those are the kids virtually there every day. From last year, 37, and then up to 139 right now. So we are making that progress where it's a fun place to be. It's an exciting school to be at. Kids want to be there, and that's one of the things driving that attendance forward. Oh, I just put in this thing because it looked nice. Look at that, it's going up. Yay. Thank you, AI. I was like, ooh, I'll put that in. So this is a big ILT focus area for us. Talking about attendance, starting to look at all of our data through an attendance lens. If a child is not succeeding, before we start talking about a different intervention group, are they here enough to get that intervention? What else do we, and I think that is going to help us out a lot. The West Ed coaching, one of the first things they said when they looked at our data is you need to solve the attendance problem before anything else is really going to take root. So that's a big focus for us right now. We are working on grade level recognition. As I said before, it's an amazing staff. They're coming up with great stuff, incentives and parties and outreach that is surrounded around attendance and just making school such a fun place to be that you want to be there. One of the best ways to increase attendance is make it a place everyone wants to go. And we're reaching out, we're working with FACT, we're reaching out to families, particularly our red and yellow zone kids. What can we do to partner with you, not punish you? The letter that comes from the principal is not going to drive the attendance upward. It's going to be the conversations and the partnership and the problem solving. Early literacy. Well, we're all early literacy, but I wanted to talk a little bit about kindergarten. We have an incredible kindergarten team. They work wonderfully together. They're always thinking about kids. And when I looked at this last year, where 90% of our kids were ready for first grade, that is amazing. Also, the kindergartners had some of the best attendance this last year. So when I'm looking in, of course, I'm seeing the UFly, I'm seeing the ECRI, I'm seeing amazing instruction. But I'm also seeing a lot of joy. I'm hearing a lot of laughter. You can't look in Nicole Martinez's classroom without seeing some kids breaking out and dance. If I need to be cheered up, I know I'm talking a lot about dance here, but again, it's a primary school. I mean, if you're not dancing, it's not school. So you look in, you see the fun, and that's what keeps those kids coming back every day. I know my child had a great kindergarten teacher, and he was at the door with his backpack on an hour before school. Every day, just couldn't wait to get there. And that's what I want for every single kid that's going to Meadow Ridge. Can't wait to get there. But anyway, look at that, awesome. So, I'm trying to stay in 10 minutes. Cell implementation is going good. Some of you know I was a little bit of an AI junkie on this. I've got about 200 observations to do at that school each year. So in using the camera, getting a lot of the transcription done, and then building that cute little robot is really helping me get feedback to teachers fast. One of the things I talked to teachers about was, what's most important to you? And it's like, I don't want to sit and wait for 2 weeks for my feedback. So I'm able to get that to them usually within a day. And then we can have a conversation side by side about what was seen. And what I really do like about the AI is how much it matches the transcript and what was heard along with my notes to the rubric. And I'm really focused on this being a trust building. Teachers grow when they own the growth. And I've been very excited about how many teachers are saying, hey, 20 minutes isn't long enough. Can I get a camera so I can get a full hour? That I can, and could you process that for me? Absolutely. Third grade just asked for their own camera. And I know Melissa Palma has that thing running all the time. The idea behind growth is that you could run this yourself and you could get feedback yourself. And I love the conversations that are coming from that when it doesn't feel like the admin over you. It feels like child-focused, which is what it should be. Oh, man, it's not on here. Because I was late on it. So one of the things I do, because I'm an AI nerd, is I sent out, no, it's not on here. It's like your whole problem where it's like the last thing. Do you have it?
Chris, while you're going through that, what Chris did not mention is, Chris, can you go back one slide
Oh, I sure can.
while you're working on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what Chris did mention is that he had a huge lift on that GapCell 5D chatbot. He worked to develop that and has done a lot of work with Magic School. A week ago, he and I had the opportunity to actually present at a lunch and learn session with Magic School. I think there were, was it 92 districts from across the state that were there? Oh, sorry, from across the nation. Yeah, thanks, Andy. From across the nation that sat in on that. We got some great feedback on the work that we're doing in the district, which was an awesome opportunity. And I just wanted to thank Chris for the work that he's done to develop that and promote that within the district and obviously in a school. So thanks.
All right, thank you. And that gave me some time. Thank you for finding that. So
How'd it feel?
with Points of Pride and Promise, I like to send, I did this last year, I sent it out as a survey, like to all staff. What are you proud of? What makes you feel good about this school? I got a lot of feedback. I think it was somewhere around 32 staff. Some of them wrote a short story. Some of them wrote a few sentences about what they feel is going great. I then I put that out in AI, said find key points. What are the things going well according to these? And then I just kept on working on it until it fit on one slide, which you cannot see. But I will go ahead and share with you what, not just how I feel, but how the staff feels about their Points of Pride and Promise. One being systems and operations. People are feeling good about how our arrival system. Kids have been going straight to class instead of a morning recess. They have the cafeteria, and teachers have opted to open up their classes early for a soft start and for kids to play games and to just develop socially, which has been fantastic. We have new recess zones. We worked with Oregon State University, and we developed a recess program with them. And it is really reducing behavior and really improving play for kids. And I was really happy with this. Just system clarity came up, high consistency in building wide expectations, which a building that big, it's like a cruise ship, to move that thing, it takes a while. And just being in my second year and people feeling that things are becoming more clear was very nice. But here, I can't read all these or I'm gonna run out of time, but there are a few really great points in here. One of them is school culture and psychological safety came up over and over again, where staff feel safe to innovate and take risks. And I'm seeing that, as I said before, with people coming not with problems, with ideas. And that has been fantastic because it can't be an administrator that runs the school. It's a team that runs that school. And so great things are coming from that staff. And one of the things we've been working on with kids is skills around respect, around kindness to one another. We're seeing that growth in reading interventions. I'm gesturing to Kelly back there. Is fantastic. And another thing that just keeps coming up is the joy of our garden program. And I have to give a shout out to Alicia Boggs, who has really driven that. Every kid, 498 kids is in that garden every week, and they absolutely love it. And we're really hoping for it, but Alicia and I just finished a $100,000 grant to ODE to expand that garden even further, because again, it does link to attendance. If there are kids that just are driven to get in there, I look out sometimes just to cheer myself up, and they are pulling. I wish my kids would work out in the garden the way how cheerfully they're out there with their wheelbarrows and just full of joy. So it's great. And I didn't make this part up, but people are very happy with visible administration. So present, supportive, and I liked that this is what it found. And tackling hard issues with humor. So I was very proud about that. This has been a challenging year for me, being the sole administrator, so I have not felt as visible as I have felt in past years. This is my 14th year as an administrator, and I don't feel like I'm seen as much as I would like to be. So it meant a lot to me that that was a common theme, like we see you a lot and you're present. So those are our points of pride and promise. And, oh, hey, look, see, there's even a kid with his wheelbarrow. See, that's cool. Having a good time. Questions?
Any questions?
Yeah, it sounds great with the stretch goals, and you guys are getting so close to meeting what you had set as a goal. For the stretch goals, where does that correlate to being like, was those people that were already, or kids that were already at grade level and are going past that, or is that kids catching up? Do you have a general idea?
It's mostly like, what would it take? So it's some sort of, fancy, iReady algorithm that I certainly don't have memorized, but this is how far this kid would need to go to bridge that gap.
Okay.
To make it to grade level.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
So kids that are already at or above grade level don't have a stretch goal?
I don't know. Do you know that? They do, yeah.
Oh,
They do.
okay. So when your percentages, that's percentage of all kids?
Yes.
It's not just below grade
Yes,
level
it's-
kids?
No, it's not just below grade level
Okay.
kids. Yeah.
How do you calculate stretch goals for kids who are already doing very well?
That sounds like a wonderful question that I don't know the answer to. But I go with the fancy algorithm, like, ooh, that sounds like that, this is how far that kid would need to go, but I haven't broken down the iReady algorithm. Now I wish I would have.
Sounds like you might be able to phone a friend.
I know, no, do you know it?
Come on up.
Come on up.
Oh, come on.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
You said you had it.
Yeah, Kelly, come up.
No, you're great.
You have
And
to speak in the mic or the
presenting
people on the
Kelly
internet
Longoria.
can't hear you.
She's a fantastic person.
Hi.
So smart.
Hi. So I'm Kelly. I'm the instructional coach at Meadow Ridge. This is my 4th year here in Gap, 2nd year at Meadow. So when you look at iReady, so it's compared to hundreds of thousands of other students who take this assessment. So it's looking at, okay, if as a 2nd grader on grade level, so you're performing typically on grade level, it's comparing you to your peers who are also performing at that grade level and looking at what would be expected as a typical growth, which again, you can look at that rate of improvement across measures. So if you say your typical growth is about 48 points to say in a year compared to students who had your similar score, your same age in a year, that's what it would expect you to have based on just data from all of these other kids. And then a stretch growth is what would be beyond that. So it's just comparing this data from all of these students of all of these ages who have scored in all of these ranges. So
It's like a norm
calibrates-
reference statistical model. Is it based on percentile then? So
Yeah.
like 75th percentile exceeds or whatever is stretch growth or? Never mind. You don't need to answer
I
that.
was like, good question. But
Okay.
but it doesn't matter if you're performing above grade level or below
Gotcha.
grade level. You have a calibrated typical growth goal and a stretch growth goal.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you for coming up and doing that. Let's all pretend I said that stuff.
I had a great.
Any soft pitch questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Chris, are you having much resistance to the teachers being filmed in the classrooms and then having the AI stuff, or is it pretty well accepted?
No, not at all. In fact, it's really interesting because I was the principal of a school in Washington, and that was demanded to film every single lesson, so it wasn't left to somebody else's interpretation. So when I brought it and I said, this is optional, I initially had one teacher that was hesitant, but I was really impressed. Everyone was like, yeah, no, have it, bring in the camera, send me the video. I think what was interesting is the more, so the camera that I bring in is wide lens, and they're not staring at themselves, they're looking at what their kids are doing. So there's not a lot of fear because it's student-driven, it's learning-driven, not, let's watch you, the teacher. Let's watch the learning occur. So no, I have not gotten really any kickback at all.
Excellent.
Well, I just want to commend Chris for his work. I think you can hear a little bit about how he fundamentally operates with other adults in the building. He's certainly not placing himself in front. He's really with his staff and incredibly out-of-the-box thinker, and looked at the work and has made himself a commodity to Magic School. They keep begging him to build something else.
I do.
Great job, Chris.
All right, thank you so much.
We attempting to kind of move some of those tools out to other schools with the AI and the reviews and trying
Yeah,
to get.
so that's part of the work right now. one of the things, and I experienced this when we had the cameras, I got a camera. Chris said, yeah, it's pretty easy. You just have to do this and that. So I labored away for about 3 hours trying to find my way to get it to easily work. And he finally said, I'll stop by. And so there's a lot of requests for Chris to stop by. He's got a lot of confidence in that. There are two things. Number one, I think principals who are shown then, through their own learning to get on that have a lot of success. And when we talk with the collaborative steering committee in any mode, right, because we're really working on principals being reflective with teachers about what they can do. The people who experience the whole process of getting feedback from a principal through AI end up generally experiencing evaluation very differently. And I think that changes perception across the system. And we're still working on that. We do have a couple of buildings that had, some classrooms that were a little bit difficult to start. And so that took a lot of time as the principal dealt with that, and that slowed that down. But where it is occurring, and it's really a march of progress over time, right? So if we need to support someone to learn the technical side of that, then we can do that. If we need to support someone to be into classrooms more easily because of some of the other demands in that particular building, then we'll work on that. And just bringing everybody into this through experiencing it.
Is it in all the classrooms, in all the schools?
Yes.
So it is. So it's being rolled out in each school kind of as they can.
Yeah, and I think in general, we're well down the road.
Good.
Excellent.
Well, it seems like an excellent tool.
And everybody
And
uses the
thank you,
wide-angle
Chris,
cameras?
for bringing this up.
Everybody's using those wide-angle cameras?
No, right now we started with a tape recorder, which did not bring great clarity.
Okay.
Right? Didn't pick up as much, and it was audio only. That, because it didn't have great quality, then slowed us down in getting the verbatim comments time-stamped that we could then load into Magic School. And so we're working towards that. That's
Okay.
the standard.
I just think that's so important what Chris said about, it's not about what the teacher's saying as much as about what the kids are doing.
That's right.
Right, that's what good learning is. So that's good to, we have the tools to make sure that's what we're looking at.
Well,
So-
fast.
That was the number one thing. The speed of feedback trumps everything. They get it that day or the next day. They still remember what
It
happened.
makes it the most relevant.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brad, may I ask a clarifying question? Are you referring, do all schools have the camera, or do all principals have access to the AI tools?
Mostly the AI tools, and that they're
Yeah.
implementing them and trying
Yeah.
to get teachers
Yeah.
the feedback faster. And there'll be, like I said, different methodologies, camera versus audio.
Yeah, all of our principals have access to that, and they are in fact using it. What I will say is that the feedback we've gotten back from Magic School is that the number one tool that's used in their platform is called Reina, which is like their general question AI tool. The next tool that's most used in our district is the Cell 5D tool. It's about 16.4% of all AI generations in our district, which is unheard of across the country in terms of what custom tools are used. So we're doing really well. And in terms of our growth as a district, we went from something like 250 generations to like 19,000 generations in that AI tool from when we introduced it in August until November. So we're really doing a phenomenal job as a district in terms of AI use and tool use within the district.
Thank you, Bruce.
You bet.
Excellent. All right, looks like Memorial's up. Do you want to introduce Mr. Gilbert?
Fantastic. I'd like to introduce Principal Ken Gilbert, who's going to describe the incredible things going on at Memorial Middle School.
Well, thank you. I would also like to introduce my recent draft pick to help me with this, Kelly Longoria. No?
For wire for next year.
Okay.
Chris will certainly franchise her. That's an NFL term.
There we go. Thank you. As you know, middle school is a unique beast, is a nice way to say it. And I would love to say that our students are just dancing, but they often engage in some other things as well that are less desirable. So I'll have to work with Chris on how to get more dancing instead of some of the other things. At Memorial, we are really looking for meaningful engagement with our students, academic excellence, of course, and responsible citizens who are prepared for high school. If I start coughing, I apologize. I'm not feeling the best. We'll cultivate positive relationships using high leverage strategies to engage all and learn and grow. And when we say all, I feel like at Memorial we truly mean the word all and not just some. We have 3 district programs at Memorial, which is, I think, more than most of the schools. And we try to get kids involved from everywhere, whether special education, our alternative school that is housed there, and of course all our gen ed students. Our first goal, went too far. Our first goal, as Chris said, is really important, which is regular attenders. Our goal is to increase this year to 74% of regular attenders. You can see 21-22, we were at 56%. We dropped a couple of percentages points to 54. The following year had a really good jump to 68. And then last year we had a dip back to 64. And it's really important for us to get to 74 this year. Currently, our most current numbers as of the end of last week, we're currently at 78%. Little nervous because today it felt like we were sending kids home about every 10 minutes for being sick, for vomiting. And so it's that time of year, and but hopefully we'll get through that and keep lots of kids in school. Our action steps, again, like what Chris was talking about, making sure students feel emotionally safe and physically safe at school, doing that by strengthening relationships with morning greetings from adults. It's a sincere interest in the lives of students. They know when you truly care, and implementation of our Character Strong SEL curriculum. A targeted focus on our students who are in our yellow zone. Those are students who are close to being considered regular attenders, but they're not quite there. So we want to really focus that zone, and we believe that by increasing their attendance, we can really increase the total school attendance percentages. And that's things like check-ins, incentive plans, and addressing whatever potential barriers might be keeping them from being a regular attender. And then consistent and culturally responsive communication with families about the importance of attendance and the expectations and support resources that we have that can help our families. Our second goal is increase reading outcomes. What we have here, the colored boxes are cohorts of kids that have come through Memorial. And so you can see in 2022-23, like the 4th graders that we currently have now that are 6th grader, or had last year, sorry, as 6th graders. In 4th grade, they passed SBAC at a rate of 47%. 5th graders 49%, and then their 6th grade year took a drop to 30%. Same thing with the last year's 7th graders. They in 5th grade were 46, dropped to 36 as 6th graders, 33 as 7th graders, and then last year's 8th graders were 34 and 6, went up to 41 and 7, and dropped to 33 in 8th. Our iReady scores, iReady data for this fall, we have 29% of our 6th graders, 35 on our 7, and 29 of our 8th graders who are on grade level. And then you can see the other percentages there, either 1 or 2 years below grade level or 3+ years below grade level, based on the screener this fall. So some of our action steps are guided colleague instructional walkthroughs with a focus on the cell domains of purpose, student engagement, and curriculum and pedagogy. That's done with our ILT team and other members who around the school who will volunteer, hopefully some teachers that will volunteer to do those guided walkthroughs as well. Strengthen our core instruction through instructional coaching to ensure coherence, a shared understanding, and clear expectations of the CEL 5D rubric. And staff engaging in job-embedded professional learning using the CEL 5D instructional framework and self-reflection tools. Our goal number 3 is our math outcomes, very similar to the reading. We have the cohorts where we see kind of a decline as they go through the system, which obviously we want to reverse. And then our iReady data this fall, our 6th graders back in September, 15% of them were on grade level for the screener in math, 14 at 7th grade and 17 at 8th grade. And then you can see the rest there for the 1 and 2 years below and the 3+ years below. Really the same priority actions as we have for the reading, focusing on our CEL 5D, especially purpose, student engagement, and curriculum and pedagogy. College and career readiness, we have our AVID elective class and school-wide strategies, common instructional strategies that we're using are things like marking the text, a 3-read strategy that we're doing in all core subjects, explicit vocabulary instruction, try to get not only our AVID elective, but all of our 8th graders to a college visit and 1 university visit, and our career connections in the local area. We've had trips to Albany Fire Department, the Central Electric Training Center, Knife River Training Center, local farms, APD, Safe Haven, just some of the places that we've been able to get our kids out to and hopefully spark their interest in what they might do in the future. Engaging students in hands-on authentic learning experiences that foster creativity, innovation, and problem solving. These are done in some of our classes like computer graphics, career exploration, in Makerspace. We also have a robotics and engineering club as well. I was doing an observation in a computer graphics class today that was just a lot of fun. As the teacher was leading them through a project of building their home, future ideal home, and then them calculating square footage and price per square foot, and although he used $100 per square foot rate, and I think we're well above that now, but they got the idea, and what they wanted to furnish their house with, and this was on a $150,000 budget, and they quickly found out that they're not all having pools and all kinds of other fun, fancy things. But it was just a great idea, great activity, and then they were taking that and making 3D plans using, I can't remember if it's Sketch or what software program they were using. But the kids were really into it, and it was a lot of fun. Using career interest inventory for our kids to explore different careers. We think that's really important. And we have a career project investigating a chosen profession, learning about the required education, the typical salary that goes along with that, students' preferred lifestyle, or what they think their lifestyle will be in the future, and then analyzing how these factors connect to develop some practical financial literacy. So again, if you want these big, lavish things, you need to plan a career that's going to be able to provide that for you. Cell implementation. This, for me, has been the most exciting part of, one of the most exciting parts of my job. It's been rejuvenating to have a vision as a district and what we're working toward. And so I've been super excited about this and how our leaders have brought this into the district and the thoughtfulness of how we're going to implement it. So at the end of last year, the teachers at Memorial filled out a self-assessment. And then in the summer, I was able to go through the data, and it indicated that the staff indicated their biggest need was the domain of purpose. And so that is where our focus has been at the beginning of this year. Our PD has all been around the purpose domain. And we will continue that along with adding in some student engagement PD as well coming up for that was the second lowest area that they scored themselves, which we'll be addressing. We did our first round of observations and scored the staff in all the domains, but we really focused on the purpose and shared that data with them in October. And I think they were a little surprised that they were still not where I want them to be, but they took it very well and are working on that. The DPLC, the District Professional Learning Community, are where administrators are part of PLC. At our all admin meetings, we were able to choose a domain that we're focusing on. And so mine was purpose, and we're going through cycles of improvement with the other administrators that are in the same group that I am, sharing our data, strategies we're trying to use at our schools, barriers, et cetera, learning from each other, and then we're able to take that back to our schools, and that has been great. It's been valuable time. Not that all admin meetings aren't valuable time, but that has really been super valuable. And then, as Chris talked about, using the AI tool Magic School for more quality conversations with staff in Timely. I should have added that in there as well. The tool is just that, it's a tool, but it does help a lot with generating ideas, topics, vocabulary, things that I've heard from many administrators that are in our heads, but we didn't quite know how to say it. And it gives prompts, and I mean, it can do all kinds of things. That helps us with our feedback conversations. And I think the biggest thing in that sentence is the quality part. It's just better quality conversations with staff, which is important. Next steps, continuing our observations, focusing on cycles of improvement. And as I was saying, our next focus will be on student engagement for PD. Also, like Chris was talking about, teachers do want more than 20 minutes of an observation. So I have made the decision to do full period observations. It will take me longer. I'll be in classrooms longer, which is a good thing. It'll take longer to get all the observations done, but it is nice seeing a lesson from the beginning of the period through the whole period, end of the period. So when I'm having that conversation with a teacher, you know, I'm not getting as much of, well, you didn't see what I did before you walked into the room or after you walked out. So that's been valuable. Excuse me. Points of pride and promise. The addition of school sports and, you know, adding as many activities as we can into the school, I think has just been amazing. And we're already seeing it and able to talk about it, at least anecdotally. The picture of the bleachers there is a group of students that stayed for a basketball game, figured out transportation. They stood the entire game. They had signs. They were appropriately yelling. It was a fantastic feeling to see. And when I went to some other schools when the games were away, saw the same thing. Just amazing. Just an amazing addition to our middle school in what we offer. And this was important for me to bring up because we're going to have tough decisions, it sounds like. By the way, I think next year when Jane has her budget talk, we do the school presentations before she talks. Love you, Jane, but wow. Anyway, some important decisions are going to have to be made, and none of them will be popular, but I think it's good for the board to know how important, especially for middle school, which has not had a great identity or reason for being in this district for a while. And this, along with other activities, has just, I think, making a huge difference. And I think we will see statistically the difference in our academics and attendance as time goes on. So right now it's kind of the anecdotal, but I do believe we're going to see better outcomes as a result of greater pride in our schools with our kids. And again, same thing for clubs. I know a lot of our middle schools have lots of different clubs. We do as well, and it's just, it's great. I'm really proud, and our school's proud of our garden and outdoor ecology lab in learning. The outdoor ecology lab is an area between Memorial and West, some ground that was not being really used for much. We have a teacher, our alternative ed teacher and program went after a big grant, received it was just under $100,000. It was like $99,993 or something like that. We gave them the extra few bucks to say an even $100,000. And they are doing a project for an outdoor ecology lab, a learning space with trees and bushes. There'll be, of course, the insects that go with it, all kinds of stuff that is going to be just an amazing spot for science classes or whoever wants to go out there and learn. They have Liberty is partly involved, and of course West will have access as well. Dave has been fantastic with helping us through the process of making sure we're not doing something we shouldn't for future potential problems or what facilities needs to do with upkeep on the area, not adding additional stuff to them, things like that. So that's really fun. You can see the pond in the bottom left there. That is our garden club that I should have had a before picture, I didn't, but they redid that. It's all solar powered now. Kids absolutely love going by and just staring at the fish in it, and it's kind of calming for them, and it's really cheap, so that's great. We're noticing positive student-to-student interactions. an increase in that and empathy. That was something that prior to the pandemic, Memorial was, I believe, well known for, how our students treated other students and the empathy they had. Coming back from the pandemic, it was not there. I was really sad about the lack of care that kids had towards others. We're starting to see that really come back now that groups like our leadership group, now that they're figuring out who they are and what that class looks like and what it looks like school-wide, and the younger grades can learn from the older grades, which is what, when we came back from the pandemic, they were missing that modeling because the older grades missed it. And so that's been fantastic. We've got things like our home economics class, our foods class, fixing a Thanksgiving dinner for an after-school group of students that we have who are experiencing homelessness, and they fixed a fantastic dinner for them. And unfortunately, they couldn't go see who the kids were that were eating it because of privacy reasons, but those kids really enjoyed it, and it was just a nice, fun thing for them to do. We also have, like I said, clubs. We have a huge chess team at Memorial. We had a tournament here a few weeks ago. Memorial finished second in the middle school division. I don't know how many schools were there, but it's something that we have. Our alt-ed teacher, he's really into chess, and have a growing chess club, and they go compete, and it's a lot of fun. And we'll have a school competition coming up pretty soon, where usually the kids win, beat the adults, because there's some pretty bright kids. So. Questions?
Same teacher does the chess club and the outdoor?
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Phil Schapker.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Ken, thank you very much for being here tonight. And
bet.
so, looking at the reading outcomes, and just wondering what you think you might need to help boost those reading scores and get the kids reading at a higher level, so we can get them ready for high school.
Great question. So one thing we've started, actually district-wide, the opportunity is there, but we have taken on the challenge, and that's it's called Beanstack Challenge, I guess. It's basically just an incentive program to get kids reading, and they log their minutes, different things like that. So actually, we had a meeting today, and just creating incentives and for individual rewards for kids who are putting in the minutes reading, as well as advisory challenges, so we can get individual kids plus hopefully advisory buy-in. That's not going to solve it, but getting kids reading more will help. I actually wrote down some notes on something that one of you, it might have been Ryan, asked at a previous school presentation, which is about academics and how to solve the problem that we're seeing. And I think the word you used was daunting. And it is. Looking at the scores, it's not fun. We know kids are working harder than that. We know teachers are working way harder than what the scores are reflecting. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know that anybody does right now, other than how can we figure out how to motivate kids better. We can put in the rewards and things like that, and that helps to a certain extent for some external motivation, but we really need to try to figure out the trigger for the intrinsic, and I don't know how to do that. We work on it all the time. Somebody talked about, I don't recall who it was, student thoughts about SBAC. Actually, I think it was our Skylar and his thoughts on it. And he was right on. A lot of the students, they don't care about the SBAC scores because they're not getting them back immediately. We can try to set goals like we do with iReady. So I think, Chris, you may be asked about setting academic goals, and not tonight, but previously. And we do that with iReady, and it seems to help a little bit. Kids, because they get instant feedback, but SBAC, it doesn't work because they're not getting that instant feedback. The turnaround time just takes too long to get them the data. So really, I don't know. I think for academics, it's getting to the students' why. You know, if we can get them to understand their why, then maybe we can improve that motivation. And how to do that, though, is tough.
Do you find your iReady scores correlate with your SBAC scores, or are they higher?
No, iReady is a little bit higher.
Yeah, for that same reason.
Yeah, the projection, so we have like, I don't remember exact numbers, but I want to say for reading after our winter benchmark for iReady, if we stayed with typical growth, I'm learning, we would have, it projected us at something like 53% or something like that to pass us back, and you saw we weren't close to that.
Okay.
I actually have some of that information for you later as a district.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, it's probably not I don't know. But do you ever think, sometimes I wonder about, you know, how you teach a kid how to read, right? With letter word recognition and then fluent, you know, and then phonemic awareness and then fluency and then vocabulary and then comprehension, right? So around 4th grade, 5th grade, you start really just kind of reading to learn. You know, you're not really learning to read anymore, you're not breaking it down like that.
Correct.
And I wonder, and as these scores continue to be pretty poor year after year, especially in the middle school, and I know developmentally we've never really taught middle school kids how to read in that way because it doesn't seem developmentally appropriate, but I wonder if at some point we need to relook at whether or not we need to back it out, because I think not only do I think we're not teaching the skills that they need, but I also think in some ways we might be teaching kids how to get away with not knowing how to read, teaching them other ways to get information out of the text or look at the pictures or look it up on the internet, and sort of figuring out ways to get around reading in their sort of day-to-day, right, in social studies or science class, which doesn't show up on the SBAC obviously, but it gets them through, and I wonder if we're not doing ourselves any favors, maybe. I wonder. Like, I just, you know, I think about this. Because at this point, the scores have been so low for so long, it's clearly a trend and not a blip, I think.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Bruce and I have had a few conversations about different things about scores for sure. And you're right, they have been low, and the problem is so big that we can't intervene our way out of it. Right. This is not an intervention problem, it's a core problem. And so what are we gonna do differently, you know, in the core? And that's huge. And what that is, I don't know. We're just doing the same things over and over, you know, and getting the same results, of course. And so, yeah, I don't know how that looks with, you know, standards and stuff like that, but I do think we have to look at a different approach to how we're teaching reading at higher grade levels.
Okay.
So we are, with our collaborative steering committee right now, we are launching on learning about reading instruction, appropriate interventions for middle and high school students that are low readers, beginning to work on a comprehensive approach with new learning.
Okay.
So there's a lot of literacy learning that has, you know, grown beyond. There's the letters training, which is really deep and involved. My wife taught school for, you know, 15, 18 years and said she wished she knew what she knows now, right? So there's more to be learned. There's information about best approaches at the different levels. And so we're gonna take a new look at that this year.
Yeah, our language arts teachers at the middle school level will say, we don't teach reading.
Right.
And they don't, and many will say they don't know how to teach reading, which is weird to think about as a language arts teacher, but.
There's a point where You know, the skills are all well and good, but if you don't get beyond that kind of instruction, there's no reason to read. Because, I mean, there's great joy in reading and creativity, and it's fascinating and it's evolving, but yeah, if your teachers don't feel prepared to teach it, and I know as a language arts teacher, I didn't.
Yep.
Because my preparation wasn't like that at all.
Yeah.
That's something that needs to be addressed, I would say.
Change of the subject. You've been principal since '09, I think, '09 or 10.
Right around there, yep.
Do you remember the enrollment when you started, when you were first year's principal?
The highest we get up to at Memorial was like 690, and
Okay.
the lowest we've been is right about what we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 520 range.
Okay, I thought you were closer to 750, but 690 was your.
I think it was 690. We might have hit 700, but
Okay. That's
and
great.
it felt like a completely different school. It was not great.
Yeah.
So seeing those numbers up there,
You don't feel like you're only 54% capacity or whatever?
no, not at all.
Yeah, something told me that you wouldn't, so.
Back then too, like you were talking about, Chris, a lot of us were on carts.
Right.
I was on a cart for my first 3 years teaching at West Albany. Were you on a cart?
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was really lucky. But, you know, I think.
Do you guys have carts?
Oh yeah.
I always felt like middle school students just need a little more space because they're sort of vibrating all the time. And yeah, you could put 900 people in the class in the school, but it's not a good idea.
Right.
Agreed.
And the carts are terrible.
Teachers didn't have their classroom during their preps.
No.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Gilbert? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
And Timberidge.
Introduce Jody Dodera and the heckler in the audience,
No,
Andy Wynn,
Yes.
to present Timber Ridge Middle School.
Yeah, life is more fun with Andy Wynn at school. We just have to acknowledge that. So thanks for that. Anyway, I did like your description of middle schoolers too. Thank you. That is a great description of what they do. They do kind of just vibrate all day. So anyway, I am Jody Dodera, principal at Timber Ridge. And this is my 12th year as principal there, just in case you need that reference point, Ryan. And I do think your sweater is great. I noticed you mentioned you didn't think you got in the pictures because of your sweater. You will be in the pictures tonight. Anyway, so at Timber Ridge, our vision is Timber Ridge Titans strive to follow expectations, actively engage in learning, and build positive relationships. We developed this a few years back as a staff, and we really tried to use it to guide everything we do. Everything kind of fits in those parts. So first up, our first goal as a school, this relates kind of back to Ken and Chris, but we really are working on connectedness and basically attendance is where that comes in. So we want kids to be connected to school and we want them to be coming to school. And I was excited to hear Chris's presentation because your students are developing really great skills and attitudes about school, which will feed into our school, and that will be helpful. We bumped around. I didn't put our long range. We had been a little below 67. We, a few years back, last year, our goal was to get to 70, and we actually didn't quite make that. We were a little bit lower last year than we had hoped to be. Anyway, so we are really bumping up what we are doing around attendance this year. We have really worked hard on really focusing on our green and yellow zone kids, just making kids more aware of how often they're at school. I will talk more about that in detail in just a second, but I actually put our behavior numbers in here because a few years back I didn't include behavior, and I think I got asked about it, and so I thought, well, I better add it in. We really have moved away from big goals around behavior. At this point, we ended last year about here, and we're sitting here right now. We're about 90% green zone, 9% yellow, and 1% red, and that is amazing for us at this point. That is huge growth. It didn't come easily. We have really strong systems and amazing people in place to help us be more and more proactive with behavior. So now it's just like, get the kids there. Let's keep this movement going. So anyway, we have a school-wide action plan. I put some pictures in here just because like I said, we're really focusing on just awareness, raising that awareness. So On the left, that's a picture of what our elementary classrooms are doing every day, and most of our middle school classrooms are tracking in some way daily attendance. So they're just looking every day, what is our percentage of students that are in class, and then what is our overall attendance rate. Kids are doing that for themselves as well in their planners. So we just want them to be aware about how much they are there or not there. And with that, we have just done quite a few things we put into place to celebrate the positive attendance. For our elementary kids, so we have both at our school. I should have said that we're 4th through 8th grade. So we have a little bit of different systems for our 4 or 5 than we do 6, 8. We go in and any day they have 100% attendance in 4th and 5th grade. We go give them silly timber tickets with our pictures on them. They love it. It's a very small thing, but they're excited about it. They get to earn school-wide if their whole class has 5 days of perfect attendance, and we adjust if there's like one outlier that might make that really hard. We'll do, they're not popsicles, Otter Pop Party, simple, but they love it. The middle schoolers love it too. It's kind of amazing. And then they do a pizza party at 10 days of perfect attendance, and it's not consecutive, but it's as soon as they have that many days. Anyway, so we're just really raising that awareness. We're doing a lot of celebrations around it. I had this in before I could add this picture, but Friday was the 67th day of school. So, if you're in a middle school, 6, 7, nobody's here we go. Come on, Andy. Anyway, the kids go crazy about 6, 7. Anyway, so we just did a surprise. Anybody that had perfect attendance for the first 67 days of school, Andy and I just went in and did attendance awards for all those kids and just had a little bit of fun. And, like Chris says, dancing. It's kind of modified dancing. But anyway, having fun, just enjoying. We got a great picture of all of our kids that had been there and, just trying to.
Did you form a 6, 7 in the gym and take an aerial photo?
We did not.
I saw
we
you
should have.
with a 6, 7 on your shirts.
But Andy and I were 6 and 7. So anyway, all day long, we're 7, we're 6. It was great. It was fun. We had fun with it. So back to the things Chris was talking about, just making school a fun place to be, celebrating the things that we can celebrate, because there's a lot of good things if we pay attention to them, and it's really fun to help the kids acknowledge those too. So getting kids to school. And I will say another reason we really looked at this as a goal is because we did see the correlation between our attendance numbers going down a bit. We didn't have quite as much growth in ELA and math as we'd had in year past when we had a little bit better attendance. We still had some growth, but it wasn't quite as good. So anyway, moving on to goal number 2 it is around English language arts, and I used our SBAC scores. And we're just looking at growing 5% from 51 to 56% as a school. And I do have data charts on the next slide. I'll show those in just a second. But the things that we're really doing as a school to look at how do we improve, we really are focusing on our core instruction. And I will say I do really appreciate the CEL 5D. It gives really nice steps around how to help teachers know how to better teach. We've done a lot of work as a district around what we're teaching and a little bit less work around how, and I think this gets into some of those nuts and bolts. Everyone wants to do well, and what I like about this is it gives some really direct, specific steps for improvement. And this is the same for math and reading. It's all content area. And I think, when you see growth in one area, you see it in all. So that core instruction is really where we're focusing. We actually have pretty strong MTSS systems in our building. Our whole school is pretty involved in our core review and in our intervention review meetings. It's actually pretty phenomenal how willing and invested our teachers are in coming to those meetings. We really don't get pushback on it. They want to see the data. They want to see the growth. They want to figure out how to make this better. So those are some big pushes that we've made and will continue to make for improvement. I put a chart up here. We won't go through all the data. Kind of as a summary overall, we have beginning kids to us about somewhere between 30-35% passing in the English language arts. And when they leave us, they're at somewhere about 60%. So we do see pretty significant growth. We bump around all over the place. We have some highs and we have some lows, and we could get into the details of why that is. But overall, we're seeing improvement. So we want to keep going in that direction. Next is math. Very similar things with math as I shared with reading. A couple key things that we've done this year in math. We are a little lower in math than we are in reading, but we actually are kind of plugging away at making progress there too. This year, we have the new curriculum, which has been great. I love the structure in it. Once again, it really helps guide teachers into the how-to as much as the what. And I think that's helpful. And it's consistent. I think that's a key with all of the learning, focus and consistent. We work at we've actually added 40 minutes of math time in during our advisory time where they can work on their specific MyPath, so everybody in the whole school is getting that. We also have interventions at every grade level, and those are all taught by gen ed teachers, and they are doing pre-teaching for that time. And that's something I talked about last time I was here, and I do think it really does make a big difference. I guess I should have pulled iReady data because it does show that growth better, but there's a lot of charts to look at. Anyway, we're going to keep moving in that direction and keep doing the things we know that are making growth. So there's that chart also, and I won't go over it in detail, but you can look. We haven't had as significant growth overall, but we are still making steady growth, and we see that in some of our other data. So,
Can I ask?
Yep.
On that slide, that's the state percentage.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have percent rates on there. Yes. But I just compare, I try to bring this to our teachers just to show, because sometimes we would always love our numbers to be higher. But I do think it's helpful to look and see like, oh, consistently sixth grade is low across the board. We plummet there, we start to build back up. But those are I put the state scores there. So that's the average score in the state.
And Jody, thanks for mentioning that, because statewide, 7th grade sees a huge jump and then a drop in 8th grade. It's consistent
Everywhere.
across the state.
That's why I like to pull those numbers and have them there for our staff to see, because it's just nice to see like, okay, this is kind of where we're hitting, this is where we're at, but yeah, so. Okay, moving on, college and career readiness. Well, I'm actually gonna back up, sorry, I have to just do a little shout out to Chris and our cell and our observation work. So it's been great to be a neighbor to Chris and glean all this great information from him with Magic School and NODA and all of those things. It really has helped project or move along our whole process of observations and feedback, which so closely ties into teacher improvement. They do really appreciate getting the feedback. It's great to have that verbatim and be able to just say, hey, here it is. These are the things that, that are some areas of growth. The way it lays it out is super easy for them to see and process, and they get it really quickly. So thank you. Shout out to Chris and the work he's done there, and thank you for sharing it with all of us. Anyway, college and career readiness. I've debated back and forth between doing early literacy, because we are elementary, or college and career readiness, but we'll go with this one. So school, we use Avid school-wide. We really work on implementing especially the pieces around organization and teaching kids to ways to study and be self-learners. Is a whole school-wide focus. We do have some highlights here. We have a really great career fair. We have an awesome Avid teacher who pulls this together for our whole school, and we have it 4th through 8th grade. We have presenters come in, and the way that it's run is really great. We also have our Avid students that put on a career fair for our 4-5 students, and they get to do their own research, and then the 4th and 5th graders come in and they present to them, which is fun.
That's neat.
We have some uniquenesses with being a 4-8, but we actually have quite a few advantages, so we try to find those and work with them. So we also have CTE. We have a couple things. One that's just specific to Timber Ridge. It's called our Timber Ridge Eco Expedition. We had a couple teachers, I don't know, like 7 or 8 years ago that started this up. And it's a very hands-on science class where they get to go out and do all sorts of different super cool things. They get to actually do archery at school. They go on scuba diving trips. They go fishing with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. They take hikes. They're doing all sorts of things where they're actually getting out there hands-on, and it does tie into careers very directly. And it also just brings a lot of fun and joy into the day. If you're having a bad day, you go visit Tree and see what great things they're doing. So Makers Lab, also, there's just a smattering of different activities you can see that they're doing in that class. We run those most of the day, and it's one of the kids' most favored electives, so giving those opportunities as well. So other key priorities and next steps, basically, we just want to keep building on some of the positive school culture that we have, and where kids and staff want to come to school every day. I feel like we're making a lot of growth in that direction. Supporting students by creating a purpose for college and career readiness, and then just that continued academic growth for focal student groups. I didn't dive into that piece, but we definitely have our students that have special needs and our language learners, they have some extra support needed, and making sure we're really giving them the support needed so they're having the same growth as our other students. So, and then also back to CEL, just using that to really guide instruction. It is great framework. It has really specific direct steps, and using that along with we use Noda. We are not using a camera, and I didn't put pictures, but Noda is a app you can use just to get a voice recording. And so I actually use it on my phone. Some people use it on their computer, and it instantly transcribes it. And then you can put that into Magic School, and it's great. It connects it all completely to the rubric, and it pulls out specific language that was used or things that happened in the classroom, and directly connects that to the rubric language. It's really powerful, and it's helpful to see, and it's not like a big discussion. It's just that's what it was. And then you can have a big discussion about how that went and what next steps are, and it's a great tool. I feel like it's been super helpful for our staff and for us. So our next steps, like just keep plugging away in the same direction, I feel like is super important for us. Continue to work on building our core stronger. The more students we have, having success in their core classes, the less intervening we have to do. And honestly, I see when kids are really engaged in classes, they want to be there. I actually was problem solving with a couple of kids, and they were like, oh no, it's algebra, I gotta go. Can we talk later? Great. I mean, those are great things to hear from kids. Like, they want to be in class, they don't want to miss. And so, that really helps get kids to school as well. And then just continuing with our updated attendance plan and keep building that awareness with our green zone and building on the work we've already done. And then points of pride and promise. I have to just say, we have an amazing staff. They're highly skilled. They care deeply about kids. They go above and beyond every day, and they are such an asset. It's amazing. It's a privilege, actually, to get to work with them. So students that are engaged in their learning, they care about it. I actually didn't point this out back with our other goals, but one thing we really have focused on is having kids set goals for themselves. We actually do it for SBAC and iReady, and it just gives them more of a purpose, and they're more engaged in what's happening and put more effort into the actual assessment. So that has been a big piece of just getting them engaged in what they're doing. So I believe we have really strong systems in our building that are established, and we use them to address behavior, academics, and attendance. So when people hear MTSS, that's what we're talking about. We're digging in and looking at that data and making adjustments. So opportunities, some other things, opportunities for our students to connect with each other and their school. This year, we have gotten to add in more school sports. I have to just highlight and say, I'm going to go to my next one. It's been super fun to have our kids be having more sports. That top one on the left is our student section. They're amazing. They're fun. I'm in there somewhere. I stand up on the top with them, and we cheer the whole game long. And the kids do the cheers all on their own. They've been great. It's super fun. It's just built community in a way that we haven't had in the past. So we also have great other programs that help connect kids to school. Our band and choir program really is something that brings kids in and connects. Our drama program is amazing. There's a couple pictures of that as well. We've just started up a Dungeons and Dragons. So there's just different activities that bring kids in, and those are fun things that we can have them connect and be a part of. So, questions?
I just want to comment, what a great job on behavior. I mean, that is exceptional. It's the best we've seen across all the presentations. So we should be very proud of that. That's big movement.
Well, it's a really amazing team, and I feel super grateful because most of it has been intact for a period of time, at least 4 years, and it's amazing what you can do with consistency. So, And our teachers, I have to say, shout out. I feel like our teachers do a fantastic job of really clear expectations and then supporting kids to get to where they need. And so that makes a difference, so.
But it's a reflection of the culture, and the culture starts with the leadership, so good job.
Nice job, Jody.
It's fun. It's fun work. We like what we do, so.
Last spring, we were talking about sports. There was some concern about Timberridge and specifically your release time being a problem. Is that all worked out, or is that working okay?
We would really like to start at the same time as other middle schools.
Oh, okay.
It would be very helpful to
Did I
us.
step in it? Sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
we could have a discussion if you
So it is continuing to be
Be conducted offline.
Okay, offline.
They need more
It
buses.
would be helpful if we did not have, there's a couple things that are complicated. One is it just gets super congested and busy because people are coming in to attend the sporting events and they're starting before our school is out. So then we have the other schools coming, all of that kind of chaos. But, and then what was the other part? I don't know, I had two. Oh, yeah, that is. We do have to get coverage for our teachers who are coaches because they have to leave before the school day ends to go get to events. So yes, thank you for being my brain. So it would be fantastic if that was changed, but
Okay.
I know that's a major undertaking. It's not just us.
I'm sure that's a transportation, and nobody
It
messes
is a
with transportation.
Correct.
They presented several colorful ideas during the principals meeting that I can share with you later.
I actually don't think they were very colorful. I thought they were very reasonable ideas.
They are, Jody, they are very reasonable. Very reasonable.
I'm all about problem solving.
No,
and I'm here
I
help
try
you
to protect
problem solve.
Mr. Bolin from those ideas.
I'm happy to problem solve
I
with him
can't
too.
protect him anymore.
Anyway.
Really hard this year to make it happen. We studied it for quite a bit, but
Okay.
and we're willing to try again.
I'm happy.
One
I'm
idea
happy
to share
meet
that I
with
don't
you
think
too.
you've studied quite yet.
Okay.
When I mean colorful, I mean colorful.
I'm in. Let's do it.
It has a lot of moving pieces, but I think it could happen.
If you don't ask for it, you need
I'm
to
all
bring it
about
up.
possibilities. If I can see them. Yeah, anyway. Okay.
Glad I asked.
Yeah.
Any other?
I'm glad you asked too.
Sounds like we got a meeting coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Jody.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to.
Before we do that, I have a question.
Oh.
Where did it go? So there, in the consent agenda, does that go for the entirety of the I area? Because there is some of the areas down below which apparently has some discussion assigned to them.
Which one?
Sick leave, well, the speaker was Susie Worsborn on that.
That we did that last
Oh,
meeting.
oh, maybe it's the one I missed. Okay, maybe that's what I'm confused about. Okay, never.
The
then-
sick leave and the military leave were on last time.
Yeah.
So
I was just reading this and I thought, okay, I didn't want to vote on something we hadn't had a chance to have discussion on.
We can pull it out if you want to, but yeah, we do the
No,
first
that's not
reading.
necessary.
and
I
then-
just didn't understand the.
Gotcha.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. Any other questions on the consent agenda? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent
I
agenda.
move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Now we are on
Reports.
nothing under old business, so K1 reports, school report card data and longitudinal performance growth targets.
I will apologize now because Chris Green has built several presentations by me, so you'll probably be tired of hearing my voice by the end of the meeting, but I will move as quickly and with as much clarity as possible. So tonight I get to present some information on the state report card and longitudinal performance growth targets. What we have here is, this is from last year, so this is looking in the rearview mirror about where we were last year. But I do have some information to add in regards to some cohort data and iReady performance data as it relates to our state test scores. Last year we had about 8,490 students, and this presents that we had 15% of those students were English language learners, 16% of our student population are students with disabilities, 47 languages spoken in the district, 12% mobility rate, and I'll explain what that means in just a bit. And then 35% of our students are identified as experiencing poverty. This is the ever-beloved dials that the state presents for us in terms of overall student data that they look in terms of metric. 65% of our students are regular attenders, and that was a 2% decrease from the previous year. 39% of our students earned the state benchmark in reading, 29% in math, which is a 4% increase. 81% of our freshmen are on track to graduate. 83% on-time graduation, which is also an increase, and 91% of our students are five-year completers. Realize that every time you increase your four-year on-time graduation rate, you're gonna see a decrease in five-year completers, right? Because more students are completing in 4 years.
Can I ask you a question before we move on? Or do you want me to hold them till the end?
Well, you can ask me now.
Well, so it seems like, I feel like last year when we had school reports, almost every single one of them reported they were doing better with attendance. And so to see the down, even if it's only down 2%, surprises me a little bit.
You mean everyone we've had so far?
Well, last year, because this is attendance data from
Yeah, so
405, right?
They're presenting on, usually there's a lag of a year.
Well,
in
right,
terms
but
of-
I guess I assume that they were giving us up-to-date attendance on that current year during their, which would be reflected now in this summative data.
I can present in a little bit more detail. That'll come in just in a little bit.
Yeah, if it's gonna be, that's why I asked if I could ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, you can,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is our overall demographic for the district. You'll see that the majority of our students are white. The next largest percentage group is Hispanic, and then 8% two or more, and then it decreases from there. I do want to highlight what mobile student means. It means that they are changing schools within the school year. So 12% of our students have made a school shift in the 24-25 school year. Okay. When we look at the accountability details, they're broken up into achievement, change, and then a participation rate. So they're measuring achievement in English language arts, math, our regular attenders on track to English language proficiency, 9th grade on track, 4-year graduation and 5-year completer rate. The state looks at changes in performance within English language arts and math and attendance from year to year. And then our participation rate is measured for English language arts and math. My tablet went off, but I do want to mention that we've done quite well in improving our participation rate over the years. We actually met as a district in 3rd grade reading. We met in 8th grade math, which means we had 94.5% of our students participating in the Smarter Balanced Assessment. It was 97.6 in math and 97% in 3rd grade reading. So we're doing a good job of getting kids to actually take the state test, even with opt-outs and things like that. Some points of pride. As you saw, we increased our percentage of 4-year graduation to 83%, which is 1 percentage point above the state. 91% of 5-year completion, which is 4% above the state average. 29% of our students met in math, which was a 4% increase from the previous year. And when we look at our regular attenders, 12 of our 21 schools had an attendance rate greater than the state average, which is where you saw those increases. 5 of 21 schools showed an increase of 1 to 7% over the year, but we are having some schools that showed a decrease, which had an overall lower rate for the entire district. So that's where you saw that, and you heard several schools talking about their increased attendance rate. It's just some had a bigger drop, which lowered our overall percentage as a district, okay? Some points of priority. We continue to focus with our 9th grade on track, and we're continuing to refine that work at the two high schools. AOS does not have a 9th grade class, which is why we don't focus that work there. 3rd grade language arts is a big focus for us. And when you heard Ken talk, we actually wrote for a comprehensive school literacy grant. That is additional monies that we'll be receiving to focus on literacy. And that is a K-12 focus. but our intensive focus is on early literacy in the elementary schools. Meadow Ridge is one of our focus schools, and Sunrise is another one of our focus schools where we're going to be doing some additional work, as is Calapooya and Memorial. What we're actually doing is we'll be working with West Ed, which is a contract group that the state works with. And we are going to look and train our administrators to identify what quality literacy instruction looks like. We're going to be doing some work with all administrators in the district, but highly focused with Meadow Ridge and Sunrise at the elementary level, Calapooya and Memorial. And what we'll do is we'll have coaches that come out and work with our administrators. They'll do classroom walkthroughs that focus on the CEL 5D and what to look for in terms of high quality literacy instruction as it relates and using the CEL 5D. So it's work that we're currently doing with intensive focus on core instruction. You heard Ken say we can't intervene our way out of this, which is why we're looking at that, okay? We continue to work on attendance, and we've revised our intervention model. In the past, we have an attendance interventionist that has focused a lot on secondary schools, the middle and high, with 2 focal elementary schools. And we're revising that to focus on a feeder pattern and intervene at an earlier age. So we'll be working intensively with Oak, Sunrise, Lafayette, Periwinkle, and Waverly, all of which are title schools. All but Waverly feed into Calapooya, and we'll be focused on some extensive outreach with our students at Calapooya. So increasing the amount of work at the elementary level, less at secondary, trying to establish better patterns of attendance at a younger age. So we're revising that a little bit. And then 8th grade math, obviously you've heard quite a bit about the implementation of iReady, our math curriculum, which has gone extremely well in our schools, and we've got a lot of great feedback from teachers on how well that's working and what they're doing in the schools for instruction. Our district improvement plan, I'm going to show you our longitudinal performance growth targets. It's a requirement for our student investment account and integrated guidance. And what those will do, it's going to be in a couple of slides, but they kind of target what we need to do each year in terms of percentage improvement to reach that ultimate goal that the state has set for us over a 5-year period. And what you'll see is there's a baseline, which is, hey, this is our minimum level of realistic improvement. It gives us a stretch goal, which is more ambitious, and then a goal that we have to set for closing gaps with our focal groups. So you'll see 3 lines on those graphs, and I'll kind of explain that when we get there, but this is kind of a preview. Focal student groups are all of our student groups that have been traditionally marginalized students. There's a big range. What we focus on most intently is our special education students and our English language learners, right? As we look at the data, those are the groups that we need to support more thoroughly to increase our performance on those metrics. Kind of a snapshot of where we've been since 2018-19 to current, and it shows you our trends in data for each one of those indicators. And what I want to look at is where we were. Oh, sorry, that should say 24-25, not 2 years of 23-24. Sorry for the error. Our 9th grade on track, you'll see that we increased 6 percentage points from 23-24 to 24-25. So that's something that's really important because that's an indicator of students that will graduate. It's something that 87% of students that are on track at the end of their freshman year graduate from high school, which is a great indicator and something we're focused on. 3rd grade language arts, we saw a 3 percentage point decrease from 23-24 to 24-25, not great. 8th grade math, we showed that 4% improvement, and then we did talk about the attendance a little bit earlier. We don't have graduation rates, they always lag. We'll have a presentation with that in January. Looking at cohort data, again, this is something that she asked me to do last year, and I wanted to replicate that. It kind of shows where we are each year over time. You'll notice the colors that line up. So for example, in 23-24, 42% of our third graders met the statewide assessment, 45% in 24-25, showing that a 3 percentage point improvement as a cohort group, going from third to fourth grade, meaning we're improving that over the course of time. There was a 2% increase in fourth. We show a dip in fifth, and then an increase in sixth grade, which is great. Seventh grade, we showed a slight decline going from seventh to eighth. And then it's really difficult to track 11th grade. You're not testing for a number of years. And quite honestly, our 11th grade students are not making a big focus on the statewide test when they go in and take it. I don't personally feel that's a representative of their performance and ability. And I can tell you, just from personal experience watching my own sons, I stopped focusing on it when my son was in 11th grade. He came home and he was an advanced student. He said, "Dad, none of my peers took this test seriously. I watched them all just blow through the test." And these were kids that were in a college credit-bearing course as 11th graders. So it's really hard to gauge that, but the state does measure us, so I just wanted to share that information with you. When we look at math, again, this is showing what the cohort looks like over time, and how they grow. And then you can see that we make some ground going in 7th and 8th grade, which is good to see. But again, we're not performing at a level as a district in math that we would like to see. But as I said, with the adoption of that curriculum and teachers are implementing that with fidelity, we should see these numbers grow over time. Okay. When you look at the state performance in English language arts to the district, obviously red is not good, green is good. You'll see more green than red, which is nice in English language arts. So when you look, the state in the third grade, 41 and 39, we did show a 2% difference in performance. But by fourth grade, we make up 3%. Fifth grade, again, we dip a little bit. Sixth grade, we dip, but then in 7th, 8th, and 11th, you can see that we make up ground and outperform the state average. In math, that's a little bit different. But again, we've just purchased that curriculum, and we hope to see improvement and growth over the next couple of years. These are the long-range performance growth indicators that I talked about. And again, what this does is it shows what we need to score each year over successive years to meet the state performance level. Again, we set getting to a 90% as a district. That includes all 3 high schools. Those are pretty ambitious goals and what we need to do each year. And it shows it for our 4-year graduation rate. It shows what we need to do for a 5-year completer rate. And again, it's a much flatter curve because the more kids you graduate in 4 years, the fewer you're going to see needing to earn their diploma in 5. It is great that the state is now adding GED as a graduation indicator because we have a lot of students from AOS that earn their GED. And last year when I presented graduation data, I'll do it again this year because AOS, their 4-year graduation rate is around 42%, but when you add GED, it jumps up to like 77, 78%. So they're really capturing students, and it should be counted. 9th grade on track. This is some great work that our schools are doing, and I just learned recently that it's 6 credits or more at the end of their 9th grade year, but there's a national metrics that asks students that they're failing 1 or fewer classes. The preliminary data that we have is South Albany High School's made up some great some great leverage there. That's something like 78% of the freshmen are failing one or fewer classes, with 85% of them being tracked to earn 6 or more credits on the year. So it's really substantial work, and this shows what we need to do over the course of time to get to that 100% mark. And then last, third grade language arts. Again, these are over time. And these are what the state projects out to the end result, not that we're just choosing that, hey, we only want 60% of our kids reading. This is what the state goal is by 28-29. Well, sorry about that. And then regular attenders. Each one of our schools, we ask in the spring to develop a school improvement plan and how they are going to address reading and math, and then a third goal. We ask each one of our elementary middle schools, they must set a goal for reading and math achievement. Elementary, they can set a third goal of their choice. The middle schools have chosen to look at attendance or behavior as their third goal. And then our high schools, the two comprehensives, they set a goal for 9th grade on track, and then graduation and completion rate and attendance or another goal. So we kind of set that, but we do give some freedom. I think all of the two comprehensives are doing 9th grade on track, graduation and attendance, and AOS is focusing on graduation, 5-year completion, and attendance. You asked earlier about the iReady and how it correlates to state testing. And Chris, what did you say that? They're fancy algorithms? Yeah, fancy algorithms. So this is based on fall screener data. So when students take the iReady test in the fall, we get a score, and that is actually a projection of what percentage of those students will meet the statewide assessment. And it's a pretty accurate indicator when you look, for example, at 3rd grade reading. Last year, 38% of our 3rd graders, when they took the fall screener, it said that would be their percentage of those that passed, and 39% of our kids actually met. So that's a pretty accurate indicator. It said that 47% of our 4th graders would meet or exceed, 45% of them met that goal. So again, pretty close correlation. It gets to deviate a little bit as you move up the grade levels. And again, I think that starts to look at learning to read and reading to learn. Yeah. So there's some differentiation there.
It's kind of strange that the 6th grade dip has been jumping off the page, but there in iReady scores, it's not there.
iReady predicted that we would have a higher rate of students pass the state assessment.
In terms of like the increase, right? The 6th grade, and every other thing we've seen, 6th grade dropped off a cliff from 5th grade.
Yeah.
But 6th grade is up from 5th grade on that chart.
Yes.
On iReady.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
6th, 7th, and 8th.
In OSAT.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you almost wonder if something's wrong with the OSAT test at 6th grade.
Ken,
right?
that's right. It's the state test that's flawed. It's pretty difficult, especially at middle school, because the iReady is not a multiple hour test, right? It is a short snapshot that they take, and it's an indicator. When you take the state test, it's usually a 2-day to 2.5-day experience. And when you're asking, a 12-year-old to focus that long on a test, it starts to get a little bit more difficult, right? The other thing is, when the students take that iReady test, they're literally told, hey, this is going to have to do with the electives that you're going to get to take, because if they don't show that they're meeting at that point in time, they're going to be in an intervention class. So I think they focus a little bit more when they're taking those iReady screeners than they do the statewide test, okay? And you can see the correlation for math as well. 3rd grade didn't seem to pan out so well because it said that 51% of our 3rd graders were going to meet in math, but only 38% did. So, but they're nationally normed. There are multiple districts across the United States that use iReady. And again, they're comparing their performance across thousands of kids at that grade level to get that predictor. When we're looking at our elementary schools, you hear them talk about the use of data all the time. These are the data points that they're actually looking at in terms of progress. They're constantly using iReady. They're looking at their attendance data. They're looking at social emotional competencies through DESA. They're looking at their behavior referral data, and then they also use a safe and civil schools survey to look at what behavior performance is like in common areas and things like that. You've heard every one of them so far talk about their multi-tiered systems of support work in terms of intervention for reading and math. They've all are using the CEL 5D. They use safe and civil schools to set up behavior systems. They're looking at social emotional learning within the instructional day. I did mention the comprehensive school literacy grant that we're going to be using K-12. And then I did mention the attendance work that we've revised to include more elementary versus secondary schools. Okay. Middle schools, you'll see the similar work. Again, they're looking at data all the time, and then their priority action steps have been set. Again, very similar to the elementary school. And then our high schools, the data that they're looking at consistently, semester grades, credits earned, attendance, behavioral referrals is a big focus. They're looking at advanced course enrollment, how many students are enrolled in AP or college credit-bearing courses, and then they use student surveys to collect some information, and then those are their priority actions. And then I'll give you the opportunity to ask questions if you haven't asked yet.
Woody? Nothing? All right.
I was either really thorough or that was really confusing.
I think we're all just depressed about the test scores.
Well, I think there's more work that we're going to do with the Collaborative Steering Committee. For example, looking at our state tests over 3 years versus what we've done on iReady over 3 years, end-of-year test, because they occur within a couple weeks of each other at the end of the year. There's lots of work to be done as well. And this also will help us to focus in on what the measures should be that we are going to add to the accountability. Bruce just took you through the longitudinal growth charts for all the ones currently. 8th grade math.
8th grade math is
So
an
the
add.
new ones are on there as
That's
well.
new, right? Because we didn't have
Yeah.
anything for middle school
Yeah.
last year.
That's
And
right.
so then we're gonna have to look and see what that next additional measure is.
Okay.
As well.
I think kind of one big takeaway I have is that we're not that different from the state, one way or the other.
No.
We're not doing it way worse or way better, which means the problem's obviously much bigger than just what we're doing.
That's right.
So, no, I know it's not reassuring, but that was my takeaway, not my positive takeaway.
Yeah. What you said earlier, daunting is
Daunting.
accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bruce.
Now we need to get, we're looking for a school bus purchase resolution, and we're gonna need a motion. Jane showed it to us earlier, so I don't know if we need to add anything, or if anybody has any questions or discussion about purchasing what I believe was 3 Type 20s and a big boy. Okay, out of the,
Well, just a clarification that, we're asking for a total of $520,000, $438. The actual cost of the district, because we only pay 30% of that, is going to be, I just wrote it down, $156,000 round numbers. So it's not a substantial cost for what we're getting for those new vehicles.
And if we don't maintain our fleet, then we will have to catch up. And so the plan that Dave and I have worked out is using the basic school support grant to maintain the fleet as the buses retire out, and so we stay current.
Is this the first step in our getting off the lease program into the buy program?
No, I started that when I first came.
Okay, third year, so so we own several buses already, these aren't the first ones?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And I would guess it's going to be highly likely this will be a yearly thing, right? That we will retire X number of buses a year, may ebb and flow a little bit in the quantity, but it'll be a continuous board function because they age out.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the school bus purchase as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the school bus purchase resolution as presented.
Okay, moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we're on to board policy L2, non-discrimination and civil rights. Mr. Gardner.
We are now going through policies that are presented to you on first readings. This is an update to the OSBA policy. We have to have a civil rights coordinator and designate that person. I think the policy calls for HR or a designee. I believe Kelly Bizard is our Title IX coordinator. And it also specifies that the district will document and track all reports of discrimination, and also the training that the civil rights coordinator receives. And then it just calls for a bunch of descriptions around the executive director of human resources or designee as the district civil rights coordinator, and the civil rights coordinator will be knowledgeable, blah, blah, blah. And so those are more specific than has occurred in past.
So it's a required policy based on state law,
Yeah.
and it'll go to consent agenda next time.
Yep. There's an AR that will come with that you will be made aware of that will, and I think Chris is working with OSBA to make sure that it aligns with KL, even though it's a different process. Chris has done a great job of trying to align all of our complaint process, similar timelines, those sort of things. Anything to add, Chris? Okay.
Any questions or anything? It'll be on consent agenda next time, so. Okay, good. Next one is artificial intelligence.
Yeah, the ever-budding world of AI. This is much of the language in here aligns with OSBA and what they've suggested. What we've added is that we are only endorsing a single AI platform, which is Magic School. The reason we're doing that is we've been assured that it protects personal identifiable information. So teachers that use our approved platform, which is all we're endorsing, are protected to make sure that none of that goes out to OpenAI. So it provides that layer of protection.
And is that, and that's why we want it as a policy and not just a practice?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. It safeguards any information that's put in there, whereas ChatGPT, Gemini, those others cannot assure us of.
Okay,
So that's why we're putting that in the policy.
okay.
Okay?
Any questions from anybody on that? Okay, excellent. We'll also go to consent next time. Next one is,
Next one is a student investment account agreement.
yeah, student investment account agreement.
So we are asked to present to you the certificate of assurances and the grant that we're signing on to. We presented the budget, and that information was also included in the packet last spring. This is what the state is going to allocate to us based on our enrollment in student investment account funds. It is the grant that we're signing to, and you have to approve that we can accept the state grant money.
Okay,
So you'll have to make a motion for that.
okay. Any questions on that? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve the 2025-27 student investment account grant agreement as presented.
I will motion that we approve the student success investment account.
Excellent.
Student investment account, grant agreement.
Yeah, grant agreement, thank you.
There you go.
Okay, perfect. So I have a second.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded to approve the 2025-27 student investment account SIA grant agreement as presented. Any further comments or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let's go on to M, other business information only.
I will do my very best.
Okay.
So there are several ARs that are listed that are connected to the instructional materials policy that you just approved in the consent agenda. These kind of outline the steps that we need to take when we're adopting curriculum, okay? So this is, again, this is OSBA language. And the first one, instructional materials, AR, it outlines all the steps that we need to take to adopt a curriculum within the district. Do I just need to keep going through these, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing is procedures for reconsideration of core instructional materials. These are the procedures that need to be in place if someone does not agree with the core materials that we're using. And if somebody wants us to reconsider that, meaning someone from the public, it outlines the steps that we need to take in order to go through that process. Okay? And that would be core math, core language arts, core social studies, right? The next one is the reconsideration process for supplemental instructional materials. And these would be things that are added to supplement core instruction. It might be an intervention program, a social emotional learning curriculum that we would use. It's not things that we teach for core instruction.
Is the process different?
Process is a little bit different. It calls for the formation of a committee that's comprised of teachers, administrators, a parent, a student. And what I will say is that each one of these requires the person that wants us to reconsider it have students within the district. So it doesn't allow an outside group to come in and say, we don't agree with your curriculum, which is a great addition and safeguard for us because it's only for our stakeholders to consider for reconsideration. That was an addition which I thought was important that we included, which is why we've also included reconsideration for library materials, which is our general library catalog. It requires, not every district will include this, but I felt it was a great safeguard because it requires people to be a member and stakeholder of our district, which prevents us from outside groups coming in and dictating the curriculum that we would use here. Our librarian, Jean Gritter, was on the state committee that reviewed much of these all of these policies, and which is why part of the reason why we would want to be interested in endorsing these as written. The next one is request for, that was library. The other one was classroom libraries. Many teachers have books in their classroom that they check out to students. And it's not anything that we formally adopt as a curriculum. So there's a vetting process that teachers use to add books to their library. But again, if we wanted to reconsider that or it was brought to our attention that a book is inappropriate, it requires us to have the formation of a committee to evaluate and review that, which would include district curriculum staff, teachers, administrators, parents, and potentially a student if we wanted to add them to the committee. Okay? But again, it means that the parent is as a student in the district. The AR, independent adoption of core instructional materials. What this is the state generally puts forward approved curricula for us to review during the adoption cycle. This outlines processes if we wanted to adopt a curriculum that is not state approved. So for example, we want to adopt this unique math curriculum, not approved by the state. There's a specialized process that we would go through to adopt independent materials. We aren't in the business of adopting books or materials that are not approved by the state. I don't believe we would use this.
It's happened when they've switched copyright years.
Yes, or
And it wasn't approved. Same publisher,
yeah.
different copyright year.
Or we haven't purchased the state adopted curricula on the adoption cycle as outlined, which means we would go through an independent adoption of materials that we're currently using within the district. So, hey, we've been using this language arts curriculum at the high school. It's not in alignment in the adoption years of the state. We're currently teaching out of it. That would be an independent adoption because it was once approved by the state, but we're out of cycle. Okay, so those are a couple times when we would use that process. The AR, I'm sorry, there's a lot here. There's only two more. Again, the instructional materials adoption procedure. This is again a renumbering by OSBA. It's the procedures that we would use to adopt curriculum in the district, all curricula. Last one, I do want to bring a little bit more attention to this. These were some modifications that we made to the in-district transfer process. That would mean students that are current students in our district moving from one school to another. It is simply an adjustment of timelines. The reason that we're adjusting the timelines is this helps us meet class size language within the contract and more efficiently approve in-district transfers for students within our district. There used to be multiple windows open, and what we're looking at doing is extending the spring window that goes from the first Monday in March through the first Monday in June, rather than opening a second window in July. That assists our high schools in terms of students transferring within the district for athletic eligibility. And in addition to that, for our elementary schools, it allows us to look at that window and have set numbers so we can review class size over the course from June, so we don't get big bubbles of students trying to transfer from one school to another at the elementary level. The other thing we're going to do is we'll keep a rolling approval process, so we'll take that whole big block in June, we'll be able to make decisions, and then as students continue to submit applications, we can approve that along the way so we don't have a big backlog in August. There will still be a winter application or transfer window open that opens the second Monday in November and goes through the first Friday in January. It's just adjusting our timelines a little bit so we can capture more people. What happens is people don't see it, it's winter break, they don't get it in by December, and then we're doing all of these special transfer requests, and this would eliminate that process for us and make it a little bit smoother. So I did want to point those out as you reviewed that, so you had a little context. And that's the end of my presentations for board policy.
Do we have a list? Getting it? Okay. Well, this brings us to public comment. So while we get the list here, I will read our little blurb about public comment. Information that you provide, as well as your comments, are matters of public record. Commenters may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints criticizing specific student groups or individual district staff members. Complaints will be handled following steps outlined in Board Policy KL and Administrative Regulation KL-AR1, copies of which are available at the table outside the conference room. We want to remind commenters to treat the meeting with respect and follow our policies, ACB, all students belong, and AC, non-discrimination, which protects students, employees, and visitors with an environment free from discrimination, harassment, or bias incident based on perceived race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, or national origin. Written comments are read independently by the board prior to the meeting. We didn't receive any this month. If you are not able to provide your comment this evening, you can submit your comment as a written public comment for the next board meeting or email the board. Information is available on a slide presentation at the conclusion of public comment, or you can pick up a handout at the table. The process is as follows. The board will allow 15 minutes for public comment total. Each commenter will have 3 minutes to provide that comment. Please keep them brief and concise. In-person public comments will be followed by virtual public comments, which I do not believe we have any. Please direct your comment at the board. The board may engage with the commenter by asking follow-up questions, and the board chair will refer questions or requests for action to the superintendent to follow up at a later date. Audience, please do not engage with the commenter. When your name is called, please come to the podium. State the following: your name, if you reside within or work for the district, and your affiliation with the district. All right, who we got?
One person.
Mr. Cordier, Thomas Cordier. Cordier, you're up.
Cordier, yep.
Cordier.
Good evening, Tom Cordier. I live in North Albany. I'm within the district, and
Tom, speak into your microphone, please.
And I am a concerned citizen. My information comes from the Oregon Journalism Project. Earlier this year, the National Assessment for Educational Progress ranked Oregon dead last for fourth grade reading skills, while Mississippi was number 1. Some Oregons like to deride Mississippi as being backwards. I have heard that tone at school board meetings. We've heard all the data today, and so I won't go through this, although a large fraction of our fourth grade readers are below proficiency. Christine Pitts in the Journalism Project says there's a simple reason why Oregon kids don't know how to read. No one is checking how they're taught. In Oregon, once a teacher is in the classroom teaching, they kind of just keep teaching what they want and what they know. We don't really implement classroom observations. Question, is there a consensus on how to best teach kids how to read? Answer is yes. There are two different sides of this debate: balanced literacy versus the science of reading, which is explicit, direct instructions. You actually have to teach them the Fomen's fluency and core components, and that has been documented by brain science and the science of learning. So what is the method? What method does GAPS use? Do we use the social science reading method? Or do we use the totally discredited balanced literacy method? And this comes out of this journalism project. And I haven't heard either one of those terms here tonight. For many years in Oregon, there's been a lot of discussion about mental health providers being there for kids, social, emotional learning, interpersonal skills, but sometimes we weren't allowed to talk about academic excellence. I think it's going to be critical for us to actually value academic achievement once again. I think the level of spending is not the problem. I think where we are spending it is actually what we need to be looking for. As we started this conversation talking about the science of reading, the fact that we're just now fully investing in early literacy across the state, and yet Mississippi did that 13 years ago. So why are we so slow? We pride ourselves in being pioneers. Her answer to that question is, I don't think we're having honest conversations about how we're really doing.
All right, that's your time, Tom. Thanks. I do have a follow-up question. When you say science of reading and balanced literacy, are those proper nouns? Are those capitalized? Or are those just descriptions of, like, I'm not familiar
They
with
are
either.
capitalized.
Okay, so I'm sure we're not using balanced literacy. I can almost guarantee it. In terms of capital S science of capital R reading, TM, probably not using that either, but I don't know.
Well, I would just encourage you to go read in the newspaper, or you could just Google Oregon Journalism Project, and you'd see that laid out there, and the people with high credentials offering that guidance. And Hans has written about it substantially in the newspaper as well, which I think is great. And I was astounded here tonight, pleased to hear a school principal say to the public, we don't know how to teach reading.
Yeah, I think
I was pleased to hear that, because I sent this same questionnaire and evidence of this journalism project to several members of this body, including the superintendent, and I've not got one comment back about what it says. So I don't know if you guys are reading any of that stuff, but it's out there. And so when I hear the gentleman, the second speaker for the schools, say what he said tonight, that encourages me.
But you understand that he was a middle school principal, right?
Pardon me?
He is a middle school principal that said that, not an elementary school principal. And I would also say that
Okay, middle
hopefully,
school principal.
Right.
Well, I couldn't remember the middle school he chose, that he's.
but my point
he's
is,
with.
I would think that I bet our elementary principals would probably not say that they're,
You're speaking so softly and so
that's the best I can do, man.
that I can't understand what
All
you're
right.
saying.
Slow down a little bit.
Okay, no, it's fine, whatever. Hopefully you also heard all three of our principals say how much they get into classrooms and observe teachers, right? Because that was your comment that, what you read there was that we're not doing that, but we are doing that. Every single school that presented, I talked about it.
I mean, there is a section in the journalism report that talks about this accountability stuff.
Yeah.
And she says that accountability thing that came in this year, Senate Bill 141, won't accomplish its whole goal. All the implementation stuff that's supposed to be implemented won't be ready until her own student, her own child, is in the 12th grade. And she went into kindergarten in 2021. So the slowness of implementation is one of the struggles. Because, you know, I saw the scores from the middle school principal about mathematics, which I've been talking about for years. And the way it was being taught, and I don't know what this new curriculum is, Bruce.
Yeah.
But I would really like to know what that is, because what they were doing out at the Eastern School, the new school out there, Oak Ridge, was a stupid way of teaching how to do fractions. I mean, it was so ridiculous.
All right, well,
It just, the way they're doing it was terrible.
One thing on the Mississippi plan, when
Yeah.
Mayi brought this up as well, one thing that they implemented was that they were allowed to hold back anyone that didn't
Yep,
meet
that's
that
right.
grade.
That's right.
So that's not necessarily just teaching the kids that are falling behind. It's just keeping them until they can finally pass that grade level,
Yep.
however many years that takes. In Oregon, that's not something we're allowed to do.
But in your comment, because the superintendent said at the time, so we're going to have 16-year-olds in third grade. And you said, wait a minute, you can't say that because the recidivism rate is very, very low. And so, yes, I know Oregon can't allow that, but if you're doing the work ahead of time and keeping track of it, then you don't get the recidivism rate. And so our scores for reading are terrible.
all right, I have to cut you off there. We'll follow up on some of that stuff.
Follow up. I'll talk to you offline too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks for engaging me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Okay, no more public comment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I will second that.
All right, it's moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
It's adjourned.